Morning all, morning. Right. Good Sunday morning to all. This the third day of November already. 2024. Good morning, Roxanne. J Dimples, 66. Morning to you. Thank you as always for my brooms, Roxanne. Roxanne says, Jen have my song. Jerry beat better, Roxanne. All right, you can deal with that. Rookman Gangadine, blessed Sunday morning to you as well. Gabriel Philip, morning, sir. Leonard Harris, morning, Leonard. Rutrude, morning to you. Wazid says, beautiful hot Sunday morning. Indeed, the heat just came in from outside. Terrible. Neil Francois, always present, sir. Morning. Renwick Roberts, Boko people. So Renwick is from Tobago. Annette Beard, morning to you. Alberta Sampat, morning. Aline Lewis, morning to you. Donna Walcott. Anna Sisnat, morning, Anna. Rosemary Headley, morning to you, Rosemary. Natalie F, morning. Lisa Burton, morning, Lisa. All the way from. Lisa says, Maruga Tabelan understands the assignment. Excellent. Deborah Duranti, Kenneth Gabriel, Gaylan Jackson, morning, guys. Glenn Richardson, morning to you. Dexter Thwaites, morning, sir. David Clark, Jackie Graham. No, Roxanne, I didn't go to the gym yet. I went to the market. It was a last minute decision. Trying to decide what I should do for lunch today, and then at the last minute. So I needed to run to the market, and of course, parking for the Arima market is stress. And they say people don't have money. Arima looking like it's Christmas Eve to see people, but anyway. And traffic. Mikkel, Dwayne Peters, morning. Sedena Kwashi, morning to you. Proud to be Trini, morning. Riri, Eva Smith Spivey, morning. Eva, Cyril Mayas, morning, sir. Patricia Kwamina, morning. Leon Joseph, morning. Juju Bernard, morning to you. Bina Felix, PF Cutters, morning. Leon says, and yes, we understand the assignment. It's very important. Roxanne says she got Juju Bernard said, but Dominic, you must buy food. Unfortunately, to be honest with you guys, I had to just move with the winner. I'm not a grocery person. It's just like whatever I feel. If I feel to cook, I will cook. If not, well, yeah. So I'm not one to stock up my fridge and cupboards with stuff because it will just end up staying there and it will probably expire, and then I'll end up having to throw it out, knowing myself. Marilyn McAllister, morning. Leon Graves, Earl Turpin, Caroline Crossley, morning to you. Constance Abigail Hercules, morning. Let me see who we have on Facebook. Alicia Alman de Roche, morning. Gemma White Isaac, morning, Gemma. Good morning to His Excellency, the President of Pleasantville, the Republic of Pleasantville, First Lady Marcia Kagan. Diane Charles, morning, Diane. Esther James, morning, Esther. Estra Blake. Sarah Richards, morning, guys. Alison Boyce, morning, Alison. Deborah Duranti, hi, Deborah. Phyllis Antoine, Kurt Shaw. Demetri McEwen, morning, guys. Marva James, Claudius Alexander. Claire Irish, morning. Sheldon Pompey, morning. John Edwards. Stephen Martell, morning, sir. Claire Carrington, morning, Claire. Pamela O'Connor, morning to you. Gemma Alexander, morning. Christopher Siffy. Salah Salem, morning, sir. Don Khan, Gemma Wallace, Rudy Nicholas, Christina Lazama Kamau, morning, Christina. Anglakati, Sashel Hadara Lambert, morning. Melka Rock, morning, Melka. Gloria Lazari Green, morning. Winston Jones. Herwold McKay, morning to you. Joan Austin, Francia Panchu, morning. Marilyn Wanza Cloud, morning. You see, Judy King, Jenny Joseph, morning guys. Arthur James, Mikel Lazama, Ada Tracy, Janice Matthews, Norris Chilks, morning guys. Diane Mohammed. Who else we have there? Carol Myers. I was just about to ask where Carol was. I was on a Zoom a webinar the other night, Carol, and I think a relative of yours was one of the panelists, Dr. Chrysostom. Yeah, man know his stuff, boy. Yeah, but hang a lie. Yeah, he was one of the more impressive panelists that we had. So I didn't know, and I only became aware of his recent tragedy, which I will not go into details about, but Carol will know what I'm speaking about. So again, condolences to him and the rest of the family. Terence Lynch, Holly Legol, greetings. Leon says, don't let good food go to waste. That's why I don't buy up stuff, Leon. I learned my lesson. Pack up freezer with meat and then it just stays there. Yeah. Until my cousin passes and say, what you have in your freezer for the poor? And then that's the only way you'll get, yeah. Yeah, Carol, I didn't realize that. Yeah, that was actually my second encounter with him last year when I went to Jamaica for the conference. He was also one of the feature speakers. So, Norris says I'm one of the few that pronounces his surname correctly. Yeah, that seems to be one of my talents. Yeah. Let me see. Claudette Jeffrey, Donna Seeley, Marlene Pantin. So let me join in Teresa Francis. So once again, the Express newspaper continues to, it seems like the Express newspaper want a membership form to join the PNM, right? Because they headlined this morning, again, PNM Business. This time they did an interview with Dr. Rowley. Front page, PM Rowley speaks out on PNM leadership battle. Stuart, not my shoe in. Stuart, not my shoe in. I'm not going to read the whole thing because that requires, that article requires a lot of analysis. But I will just touch on one quote from Dr. Rowley. Right, let me see here. Right. Will Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley be staying as the PNM's political leader until 2026 when his term comes to its constitutional end? Dr. Rowley's response. I don't know that is a question I would even raise at this point in time because there are a number of days, weeks, months, and years before then. So I don't know that I would, that I could answer that question. It is a decision I will have to make, and I have always indicated that I intend to make it. I have a clear idea as to what I want to do, but I don't know whether the circumstances may cause that to change. To me, that is the most important line there. I have a clear idea as to what I want to do, but I don't know whether the circumstances may cause that to change. What is the circumstances that Dr. Rowley is referring to? He goes on, the political landscape is a changing, ephemeral thing, and sometimes you make a decision and find that you have to change it. Rowley said last Tuesday in an interview with the Sunday Express. On who he thought was best placed to succeed him, the Prime Minister said, I have my ideas as to who could do well, and it is not one person because you never know. Sometimes you are required to treat with more than one person. I have been around the PNM hopefuls and possibilities for a long time, and one of the things that I pride myself on is giving opportunity to people, watching them develop, sometimes watching them blow up, watching them grow and feeling that I have served the party in encouraging participation and encouraging competence and ensuring that the PNM's long legacy is protected by having a membership from which it can draw many people who can function at many levels in the party and in the government. And that is what I pride myself on. asked whether a leader should have a vested interest in who succeeds him. Rowley said, I expect that any genuine leader would want the organization to succeed and therefore would have some element of interest in making sure that the party does well or does its best. But that can only go so far because we don't have a monarchy where you get positioned by virtue of your birth or by virtue of how often you sit next to the political leader or by virtue of how often the political leader calls your name. Asked about the names being mentioned in the leadership stakes, such as Stuart Young, Foster Cummings, and Faris Al-Rawi, the Prime Minister said he was very pleased to be the leader at this time when the party could generate that kind of prospect, that we do have people who can be considered for the position. In the end, it will all work out. Not all of the names you call there are people who will put their name forward, and even if they put their name forward, that doesn't guarantee that they will succeed. And ideally, you would like everybody to be on the same page going forward. I expect that that is going to happen because the PNM has a record of that, and we would want to go by our experience. Whatever disappointments may occur in some quarters, party members who are so disappointed would do well to take their disappointment in stride and put their best foot forward. I don't expect anything else. If anything else occurs, well, then such persons will answer for it, not to me, but to the party, he added. And that is just a side piece from the wider article interview that was done with Dr. Rowley. And I think that sums up quite a lot. Dr. Rowley has a way of saying things without saying things, right? Read between the lines. Take from it what you will. And as the saying goes, a word to the wise is sufficient. Needless to say, the fact that he is saying that sometimes you make a decision and circumstances may cause that to change, to me is very telling. Right? Very, very telling. And as I mentioned to you all a couple of days ago, it's only the PNM that's mash up PNM. Right? And Dr. Rowley referred to it here. He says, I take pride that I pride myself on, the thing that I pride myself on is giving opportunity to people watching them develop, sometimes watching them blow up, watching them grow up and feeling that I have served the party, encouraging, watching them blow up. Yeah, so I see there's another storm brewing in the teacup. This time, with respect to the video that is circulating, where the Women's League, or that arm of the Women's League in Lavantille West, would have held their meeting to, oh shucks, oh boy, yeah, would have held their meeting to nominate someone to represent the constituency, right, or to put forward a name to go before the screening committee. And when the name Fitzgerald Hines was mentioned or called, only one person would have supported that name. And then we hear it is because the Women's League, or that arm of the Women's League, is in support of Kareem Marcel to represent the constituency. And so, of course, there's talk about some rift and whatnot, and Kareem Marcel has responded by putting out a communique indicating that his acceptance of nomination does not in any way, in any way intended to be a disrespect to Mr. Hines. But of course, Ms. Kareem has his political ambitions, and put your hat in, everybody can put their hat in the ring. At the end of the day, it's the decision of the executive and the screening committee, which is basically the executive that will decide who will represent or who will be the PNM's standard bearer for Lavantille West in the upcoming general election. But as I said, another storm in a teacup. Okay, because that's going to create a whole set of speculation. It's already causing a set of pushback, who taking sides and who taking corners and all kind of thing. And again, only the PNM does mash up the PNM. But I say no more on that for now. I'll leave that there. So, I wanted to play something first, right? And Today is a crazy indulgence moment, so you all know when I say that, who are going and play. Forgive me in advance, asking permission, right? I know I'm going to say a whole set of messages just now. Don't do that. Oh gosh, allow me. I need it to go somewhere, right? I need it in order to talk, discuss something. I need it to show, right? So allow me, please. I know I won't play the whole thing. I won't put you all through that. But let me get this here. So let me just, right. So we will get the minor out of the way first, and then we will deal with the major. Where is it? We say good morning to Mr. Chance, Mr. Yates, Mother Tunapuna, morning, Angie. So this is a testimonial from somebody who had an experience at the Point Fortin Hospital. You know, the fully done's always like to say that the health sector in this country is the worst and it's the pits, and the government spending money on nonsense and the healthcare and the health sector. And the reality is that the majority of people who talk that talk had no experience in the hospital, right? But they're just running based on what they hear people say, the propaganda that is being pushed by the fully dones, the waterfront ilk, and they're just repeating and regurgitating. But ask them, half of them who talk and not talk. Don't know, you know. Never went to the hospital, had no reason to go. Maybe they went and the only time they probably went to the hospital was probably to visit a family member. But then they're talking, I mean, I'm reading a comment yesterday from one of them with respect to a story that has come up. I'll touch on 2 new hotels under the Hilton brand are supposed to be constructed in Trinidad. One is supposed to be constructed, I think, I'm not sure if it's close to the airport, and the other one somewhere in South. And if they hear them, the government and the Headline Readers Association, they have money to put more bed in the hospital, they have money to buy medication, they have money to fix school and to fix the road, but they go in and build a hotel. I say, oh, let's serious. If you had taken the time to just click the link and read the story, you would see that it's private developers. It has nothing to do with government. But again, the Headline Readers Association, all they do, read a headline, jump in the comments and make themselves look like a bunch of fools. Anyway, let me play this, right? Let me play this one first.
I want to take this opportunity to publicly thank the staff, inclusive of those security personnel attached to the Point Fortin Hospital, for doing an exceptional job last week, Monday, when they tended to one of my close and dear relatives. You know, there are people that tend to say a lot about our health system, but I want to say something positive today because of the way in which they were not only attending to the patient, but the manner in which they were attending to everyone else, including the relatives. That level of professionalism was truly exceptional. And I'm talking about being a professional and also having interpersonal skills. I'm talking about being pleasant and at the same time being able to basically explain to us what was taking place. They were able to really take care of the patient as well in the best possible care. I was so amazed. And I'm so happy and I'm so grateful because these are the little things that we tend to take for granted. And I can assure you that there are other countries which I have been to, I have resided in, and the healthcare system is nothing close to what we have here. And apart from that, it's a paid service. Point Fortin hospital staff, to be quite honest, you guys have set the bar so high. And I sincerely hope that others take pattern from what you guys have been doing there. It would be remiss of me to not acknowledge the good work that you all are doing, the way in which you are carrying about yourself, the way in which you're seeking the patient's interest, and of course, helping the families to also cope with situations at hand. Everything about Point Fortin Hospital is on point. And I am really, really happy and grateful that I can say today that that particular relative of mine is and was in good care at your hospital and is in a better situation today. So I want to say thank you. I want to say thank you, and I want to say continue to do an amazing job, continue to do an awesome job. And even though at certain times you will get lambast, you will get those who will come at you and those who will be very aggressive or arrogant, I want you to remember that there are people just like myself, my family, and by extension, our friends, our extended relatives, everyone who truly are grateful for everything that you would have done and done it to the best of your ability. So this is my thank you post.
They'll probably the fully done so she's happy now. Right, but this comes on the heels of another video I would have played for you a couple of weeks ago, I think it was, from an individual who goes by the name Cuban Boy, a Cuban national who's been living in this country for a few years. I think he's married or his better half, his other half is Trini, and I think they have 2 children. And in that video that I played for you all, he would have spoken about the experience he recently had at Mount Hope, which is one of our older hospitals. And he mentioned a number of things in there. The fact that, first of all, that stood out for me when he said that the toilets in Mount Hope is cleaner than his toilets at home, right? Compliment and kudos to the janitorial staff at Mount Hope, because that's one of the things that people usually complain about, the condition of the toilet facilities. And then he made mention of the fact that his children would have gotten excellent care from the doctors, and then he got a prescription for their medication free of charge, and he wanted to go down to the dispensary to see if this thing is true or lie. He couldn't believe it, because he said in Cuba and in Venezuela you had to pay plenty money, boy, plenty money. But in Trinidad, he got his prescription, he went down to the dispensary, and he got the antibiotics and the tablets and so on for both children, right? And whatever else that was on the prescription, he got that too, free of charge, as compared to Venezuela and Cuba, where he's from. So I suppose he would have had some experience with the health sector in Venezuela as well. And this is somebody who, as I told you all, if you look at many of his videos, when he decides to be political, has been very critical of the Dr. Rowley and the PNM. And on numerous occasions, he's appeared wearing his UNC jersey and has been in praise of Prasad Bisesa and the like, but is no friend of the PNM. And even at the end of that video, that if you all recall, he was kind of finding it difficult to say thank you, Dr. Rowley, thank you to the Prime Minister, that his children received excellent medical care at Mount Hope, and he was able to get the medication for free. It didn't cost him nothing. The only money he probably had to spend was transportation to get to the hospital, right? Now, the other day when they wanted to kill Minister Mitchell, Randall Mitchell, I think during his contribution in the debate, he encouraged citizens who are always complaining about everything that is going on in Trinidad, right? Like the individual here on the YouTube chat who goes by the name Leo, right? He come out early today, but it's too early for me to engage him because he's not gonna distract me. But needless to say, at the corner of my eye, I've seen some of his comments, and he's part of that ilk who complain about everything in Trinidad. So this morning he's talking about you're not safe in your own home and you can't walk on the streets and all of these different things. And like with the comments that I'm seeing under the story about the 2 new hotels, again, that ilk, the Complainers Society of Trinidad and Tobago, right? Complaining, what they building hotel for? For who to stay in? No tourists want to come here. They come here to get killed and the crime situation, but yet still in Jamaica. Jamaica is on the cusp of 1,000 murders so far for the year, right? For the last decade and more, Jamaica has been recording over 1,000 murders every year. Constant states of emergency in different parts of Jamaica. There are places where even citizens, persons who live in these communities, can't even go. But yet still, tourism booming in Jamaica. The same tourists who people like Leo want to tell you, and want to come here, and don't let them come here because travel advisory and the crime situation in Trinidad and Tobago is so terrible. The same tourists that Jamaica competing for is the same tourists we competing for. But you don't see Jamaicans putting up video telling tourists, don't come Jamaica, you're going to get killed. And if you come, put on a bulletproof vest and make sure you have on a helmet and all of that and work with security, right? Because notwithstanding the crime situation in their country, they understand the importance of tourism and they encourage people to come. Imagine when you go places in Jamaica like Dunn's Riverfall, which is one of their more popular and more prominent tourist attractions. Even the citizens of Jamaica, you have to pay, albeit you pay a smaller fee than the average citizen, but you have to pay to go to Dunn's River Falls. When you go there as a tourist, they charge you, they have a sign telling you this is how much if you're a tourist, and if you're a local, this is what you have to pay. And the like, when it is that you're heading up to Montego Bay from Kingston, and there's a part, I don't know what part that is, but you look out over on the horizon and you see the lineup of cruise ships, one after the next. Come, all you come, the tourists come. Jamaica reaping the benefits because they're citizens, unlike people like Leo, who have no problem. What's he saying? You're sitting on the riverbank and talking the river bad. That's all they do. Nah, don't come to Trinidad. Things there, they go get killed here and everything is terrible. But people like him would have no problem hopping on a plane to go to the United States, where as soon as he come off the plane and he leave the airport, not even leave the airport, probably in the airport, he could end up dead. A statistic of a mass shooter, right? Somebody who just have some gross or have some mental issue and decide they're going and buy a AR-15 and they just go in and light up, or as Kamala say, load up the matic, cock it back, right? Empty it on them. Where you could send your children to school in the morning and an hour later after you drop them off, you're likely to get a call telling you there was a mass shooting in the school. A student came in with an AR-15, opened fire, and your child, unfortunately, was one of the souls lost, right? And this is the fear that American parents have to deal with on a daily basis. Since 1992, under President Clinton come forward, right? Over 30 years ago, they have not been able to put a handle on this thing. That's why just recently they had to destroy the Marjorie Stoneman Douglas building, where a mass shooting took place there some years ago, resulting in 17 students losing their lives, right? But if you go on your Google, you'll see how many mass shootings have taken place in the US. You go to the mall and you hear pop, and people running scared because they figure it's a mass shooter. Sometimes it's just a balloon pop. How many times have we seen stories? Those of us who look at the foreign news, WESN, News 7, Channel 7, and all of these different things, and you see it. They're making it seem crime so terrible in Trinidad. Yeah, and the rest of the Caribbean, yeah, it's beautiful. Only bad talk in the country. Don't come here. What are you coming here for? The economy in a mess, but yet still, apparently the two private developers who are going to build these two hotels, they didn't get a memo. Or they didn't get that email that the economy is in a mess. The economy is in shambles, right? Otherwise, they wouldn't be willing to spend hundreds of millions of dollars to construct these two new hotels to increase room stock. Probably because they heard or they realized or they would have read where Trinidad and Tobago would have received the award or the accolade for being the #1 destination in the Caribbean region for conference tourism. So let me tell Leo what conference tourism means, all right? That is when you have international associations that are looking to, they have their annual meetings of their membership and they're looking to have it in a different country rather than in the same place all the time. And so they would look to see, okay, which country offers the best accommodation for us to host our conference. And the Hyatt, which was constructed by the People's National Movement, right? The People's National Movement, or they love to say the PNM in 60-something years and how long they were in power and they didn't do nothing and they didn't build nothing but yes, that the PNM built that, Leo, in case you didn't know, right? And the Hilton Hotel, the existing one, not the two that are going to be built, the existing one, yeah, that was PNM as well. Just thought I would let you know that under the same arrangement as the Hyatt, which making millions and tens of millions of dollars every year and putting money into the coffers of the state. The UNC didn't build that. You could tell me which hotel the UNC built, right? Between 95 to 2001, which hotel did they build that is now putting money every year into the coffers of the state? Between 2010 to 2015, which hotel did they build that is putting money into the coffers of the state? In fact, you could tell me, I'm not going to make it too difficult for you, Leo. You could tell me one thing that the UNC did between 2010 to 2015 that is today generating revenue for the country? Because I would imagine if you put a revenue generating item in place, it shouldn't just be for the time that you're in office, but even when you leave, it should continue to generate revenue. You could tell me one thing, since Kamala Prasad Bisesa is the best prime minister ever, and according to Jack Warner and Philip Alexander, she was the best prime minister because she performed and she delivered. Well, Patrick Manning has the Hyatt that we could point to, right? That continues long after the PNM lost the election and long after Mr. Manning has gone to the great beyond. His legacy still lives on. And tens of millions of dollars and maybe even hundreds of millions of dollars have gone into the treasury as a result of his decision to build that facility, Leo. But I am at great pains, and you know it's not difficult for me to research, but I am at I have to go to great pains and to figure out anything that I could point to say, well, hey, Kamala Prasad Bisesa built that, and it is today generating revenue for the state. And it is state-owned. Can't think of anything. But maybe you could help me. Maybe my political bias is blocking my ability to figure it out. But if any, not only Leo, the rest of all you, who support that other party, help me now. Help me. I'll just respond to one thing he says there. Tell Dr. Rowley to call the election so we could vote them out. You all said that in 2020. Dr. Rowley called the election a whole month earlier, right? He didn't take 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. He took 4 years and 11 months. Called it in August instead of September. Call the election, call the election, call the election. We're going to beat the PNM. Right. Who's in power today? Same thing when they come back last year. We went all the way to the Privy Council. Rowley afraid to call the local election because you know the PNM will get licks and all of that. Munilal say what? We will beat them to a frazzle, and then we will beat the frazzle too. I'm disappointed because I wanted to see what a frazzle looked like. All my years hearing about frazzle and frazzle, I said, well, yes, I finally go in and get to see a frazzle. Where the frazzle, Leo? All beat the PNM? To by election in a tight seat. Local election last year, Lengua Indian Walk, PNM, same number of votes. UNC, same number of votes. By election, UNC lost votes. PNM got over 600 additional votes more than what they got in 2023. And 600 plus more votes than they got. But all you're voting out who? How are you doing that? When you cannot even beat the PNM in a simple local election, which people don't even care to vote in. You couldn't even do that. And then in Kamala Prasad Bisesa's own constituency, Quina Mondiablo, the PNM was able to get an additional 600 votes in the by-election. 600 more votes than they got last year in the substantive election. But all you're talking about call elections so you could vote out. And you can't beat the PNM in a local government election where you expect to beat them in a general. But you delusional, more delusional than your leader. Waste of time. Waste of time. A bunch of bloody jokers. When you talk about, we win popular vote and we got, well, you had Jack is back, you had Gary the Great, and the OWTU and all that style and the PNM still cut all your backside. Still cut all your backside, Leo. So what choppiness you're talking about call elections so all you can vote out. Vote out who? Man, rocks so with that stupidness, eh? So the only people, is only the PNM could be the PNM. Miss us with that BS. About check yourself before you wreck yourself, right? The PNM needs to sort out the internal business, right? But anyway, let me continue. So I was making the point. So we heard that young lady talk about the excellent care that her relative received in the Point Fortin Hospital. Then we had Cuban boy who spoke about the excellent care that his children received at Mount Hope. And then a few months ago, we had Jack Warner writing an article, submitting it to the mainstream media because he has his own newspaper. He could have written it in and leave it there. But he so wanted all of Trinidad and Tobago to know, and he called it. He said the Arima Hospital is the Ministry of Health's best kept secret. And he didn't just leave it there. He went into great detail to tell you about the state-of-the-art facilities in that hospital. and the excellent care that he received. Of course, the fully done will tell you is because it's Jack Warner, and that's why he got that care. Yeah, well, they didn't buy the equipment, the state-of-the-art equipment that he referenced. They didn't buy that because, hey, Jack Warner will experience some health challenges, and he will come here in a few months to seek treatment. So let us buy this equipment to impress him so that he could go and write an article. No, right? That didn't happen. That there is for everybody, and I can speak personally from a personal standpoint with my aunt who recently had cause to visit the Arima hospital. And, well, I wasn't there, but based on what was told to me both by my aunt and my cousin who was with her, the excellent care that when she went originally to the accident and emergency, the old facility, and then they sent her across to the new facility within the space of half an hour. As soon as she got across there, she didn't have to lie down on her bed and wait or sit down in a chair and wait for 3 and 4 and 5 hours. She was attended to immediately. All of the tests that were requested by the doctor who first saw her were done within a space of about half an hour, right? And they were blown away. All the blood tests and the whatnot and the this and that, blood was drawn, everything that needed to be done within the space of half hour. No wasting time. I made the point as well. Prior to her death, Colin Bird's mother was in the Arima hospital. Right prior to her death a few months ago, having suffered a stroke, she was in the Arima hospital, called Pocket Deep. Always talking about the apartment building that he has in Newtown there. Forget what, Picton Street, right? His Pocket Deep, he could have put his mother in St. Clair Medical. He could have sent her to West Shore Medical. He could have sent her to St. Augustine Private because she was an accomplished professional as well. So I'm sure she had her own money. But she was in Arima hospital first. You know when she died? Mount Hope Hospital. The public health sector always say, oh, they don't like to use it and they this and that because they know it's the worst. But that is where Colin Bird's mother was, right? So just to let all you know, they like to talk this stupidness and bad talk the country and feel all they're doing something good. All of the mass shootings and so on that are taking place in the US. You see US citizens telling people don't come to their country. They see that happening? No, but there's only all this special set of degenerates here who like to do that dotishness and then complaining. I can't even get 200 US when I go in the bank to travel. I can't get 200 US. Well, where feel the US coming from? The government has a mint? You feel Dr. Rowley has a printing machine in central bank that they could print out US dollars? That is how we get the US dollars. When the tourists come and they spend hard currency here, they go to the banks to change the hard currency so that they could spend TT dollars, because if they come with the US dollars, the vendors don't have US to give them change. All right? That is how we get it. But when it is you all come and use the various platforms to tell people don't come here, and Trinidad is the worst and everything bad, and all they want us to believe that if Kamla Prasad Bisasa comes back, oh, Trinidad will become, according to Munilal, Ayudic status, veritable utopia. All of a sudden crime will end, and all of a sudden the coffers, the central bank, the foreign reserves just going to increase by tens of billions of dollars. Yes, and all of a sudden, as soon as Kamala becomes prime minister, food prices will go down and the cost of living will go down. But for the last couple of days, I've been trying to go to PriceMart just to buy simple ink for my printer. Pressure, stress, Port of Spain, Mausica. Can't get a park. And when you do get a park and you go inside, the line long. I am not going to stand up in those long lines just to purchase ink. So on 2 separate occasions, I have tried over the last couple of days. And I told you before, sometime last week when I went to buy, when I went to get juice or something, and I'm standing in the line and the lady behind me, she said, but I thought Trinidadians catching the aunt, uncle, and nenen. Same long lines, and it wasn't Montaigne yet. And the line's long and trolleys full. And people pushing out big screen TV, 65-inch and 75-inch TV. The big trolley who carting out washing machine and dryer and fridge and stove and elliptical machine and weightlifting machine and treadmill. Last I checked, PriceMart doesn't offer higher purchase. So people paying for these things cash, they swiping their credit card. Once upon a time, back in the 80s, the late 80s and so on, growing up as a child, I recall the early 90s, when people had to buy these things, cash, They're going by, I think courts at that time was called Huggins, I think, if memory serves me correctly. And then you had Singer and American Stores, and I think, well, you had Standards as well, and some other thing, I think, I can't remember if Max and House used to sell appliances and stuff, but these things, higher purchase. But in this economy that you all want to tell us so terrible, and the economy on the brink, and people suffering, and they're starving, and they're eating grass, all these people in PriceMart, and all these people in the various groceries, apparently they didn't get that memo that they're supposed to be suffering, that they're not supposed to be swiping their credit card and their debit cards to be able to purchase these things, or pulling out wads of cash to count out. They didn't get that memo. No, they didn't get that memo. But things so hard here. Go down, drive down the highway around West, just after you pass the interchange. Behind the newest Extra Foods, there's a new strip mall, big strip mall going up there, right? They're not going to build that unless they did the research and they know they probably have tenants waiting for the facility to be completed so that they could make money. Who goes and takes tens of millions of dollars to put up a structure if you're not sure you're going to make money from it? So who go in and occupy these spaces and these strip malls? Elves? Dwens? These people who come in there, they only setting up business. Why? Because they know they're going to get patronage. People will come and spend the money. Likewise, in Arima, I went to the market just now. I don't go that often into Arima proper. And so the first time I noticed this big billboard. Another one of those malls is being constructed behind RBC in Arima there, right? And they already have up the billboard, space for rent. I think it's the owners of Mirage Westside or ADM or something. So the Mirage family, I believe, that are constructing that. You think they just like to spend money? They did their research, so they know. Why you think Pennywise moved from the small spot, the small space that they were in on that building there on that street next to the taxi stand, and they bought out what was previously American Stores, right? That space that was American Stores, there is now Pennywise because they needed a bigger space. They outgrew the space that they had there. I see Rattans, but they are now operating from the building. Again, for those of you who aren't in Arima, this 3-story building that was previously Francis Fashion Shoe Locker. Rattans is now there. 3 stores, 3 stories of shopping. But we're suffering and things bad. Nasalura Maya Road from the Ministry of Agriculture, go all the way down to Price Plaza. Look at that stretch. Look at that stretch. The one piece of land that it had available there still, it seems that construction is about to start or has started because I see they put up the galvanized fencing that is normally have when construction is taking place. But all there between 2010 to 2015, other than what is the Ministry of Agriculture, the People's Partnership built that building that was supposed to have housed the Ministry of Science, Technology, and Tertiary Education. But between there, then you had Baraka grounds, which they gave to the Muslim community / Insha and Ishmael. And then you had Price Plaza. Other than those 3 facilities and the Diwali Nagar, other than that, was just empty lots of land between 2010 to 2015 when they wanted to tell you things was so great and the economy was booming. And under Rowley for the last 9 years is pressure. Really? M6 Plaza, if you see it, for those of you who haven't been yet, almost every stall or every store inside there is occupied. Right? You have Pennywise Plaza, same thing. Yesterday, driving down on that side, if you see the car park for Pennywise Plaza, ram out. People waiting on the sidelines to park. But we're suffering. We ain't have money. Things hard. We eating grass. And again, these people apparently did not get that memo. So I don't know what new mall or whatever they're going to build. But clearly, and I wouldn't be surprised if it's probably one of the same owners of one of the other plazas who run out of space because all of these spaces are taken. And they realize they're getting patronage. So they say, well, okay, well, we might as well open another one. Because money making. That whole stretch there, making money. Whole stretch. All the way down to Price Plaza. But I would remind people like Leo, between 2010 to 2015, it was just empty plots of land. That building, that housing the ministry, Baraka grounds, the Diwali Nagar, Price Plaza. Right? That didn't happen. Those new buildings didn't happen under Keith Rowley. And all those people who spend the hundreds of millions or whatever millions of dollars to put up those buildings because they knew they were going to get tenants, and they have tenants. So Mr. Swedad BS summer, please. But anyway, I move on. Another thing to play. Let me get this here. Instead of the media being obsessed with the PNM business and only want to publish front page stories about what's going on in the PNM, these are the kind of things that they need to be sharing or talking about. But of course, they're not going to do that. So leave it up to us to do it. Let me get this here. So we posted this video on the debunking page on Facebook, right? So I could only play the audio, but if you want to see the video, you can you could visit the page and you will be able to see it. All right, just now. Let me get it straight. I thought I would. I can't remember where I even got it from. But anyway. Right. So,
here we are today, culmination of yet another project. Proud today of Tufco, a local fabricator that is world class. We're here for the pre-load out of the Mento platform. 9% local, it's all local. So here we are today, culmination of yet another project. Proud today of Tufco, a local fabricator that is world class. We're here for the pre-load out of the Mento platform. So if you look at this project, it's 99.9% local. It's all local. So we've done two things, created an opportunity for local talent, and we've also been able to keep a sustainable operation, which is key.
So the local talent in Trinidad is honestly world class. Now, I have worked for BP for over 40 years. I've worked all over the world. So I've seen some very experienced areas. But the people here are of absolutely an equal quality to the best I've seen anywhere else. So I think it all can be done here.
These are the things we've been working on. These are the things we've been working on since 2016. Seeing it all come together, this will boost our production. This has provided over 400 jobs for the local community here in Labrie. And that was the government working, negotiating, asking the people at BP and EOG globally to support Trinidad local content, support Tufco. So here we've done it once again. This is your government working for you, Trinidad and Tobago, making it happen. Yet another successfully delivered project.
You would think that would be a headline, right? You think that'd be a headline? No. Instead, we want to talk about Stuart, not my shoe-in. Guardian, extortion, bacchanal, uproar as criminologist says businesses with drug links driving up crime in Central. Oh, don't say that, Dr. Figuera. They will say it's a PNM. Nah, remember, it's Heinz fault and Rowley fault that you have extortion taking place. It has nothing to do with the businesses. As he says, businesses with drug links. Yeah, it's a government fault. So I just played that video there, well, that audio for you. I said if you want to see the video, you could visit the page on Facebook, Debunking UNC Lies with Facts, and you will see it. So you heard representatives, the guy from BP saying that he has worked all over the world, over 40 years, and the talent and the skill that he has seen here in Trinidad could rival those he's seen anywhere else in the world, right? Anywhere else in the world. So just like you heard the first clip that I played with the young lady who would have indicated she would have lived in different parts of the world, experienced their healthcare there. And it is, in some of these countries, it is nowhere close to the quality that she has seen in Trinidad. And what's more, in those other countries, you have to pay for it, right? And when Randall Mitchell, I was making the point that when Randall Mitchell spoke the other day during the budget debate, and he was saying that some Chinese need to travel abroad and to see what exists outside, to understand or to have an appreciation for how good they have it in Trinidad. As I always say, the people who talk the loudest are those who have never traveled, right? The closest they've come to an airplane is Coney Island. And when they had the airplane ride, and that's about it. And they figure that what they see on YouTube and on Facebook and Instagram and TikTok or YouTube on Netflix is what is, and that is the be all and end all. But for those of us who have traveled on a regular basis to a variety of different countries, who have been so fortunate, right, and see the potholes, seeing big potholes in the great US of A, potholes on a big highway, such as the I-95 or the I-75, where you have toll gates, yes, where you have to pay to use the highway. You drive in, and then they come up, there's this big device over the road, and that with what looks like those what does it look like, boy? The lights, those projector lights or whatever it is, and you just drive through for the benefit of those who go travel now, right? And then you see this flashing light, takes a picture of your license plate. So if you don't have a sun pass, guess what? You're getting your bill in the mail. So I just saw a few days ago my toll bill for my last trip abroad in September. Yeah, $60-something in tolls. And I was just driving from Fort Lauderdale to South Beach and areas in between. 60 US in tolls to use the road. In Trinidad, I don't have that problem. I could drive anywhere, any highway, Churchill, Roosevelt Highway, Solomon, Hootroy Highway, Uriah Butler Highway, you name it. And I pay no tolls. There is no bill coming to me in the mail with a fee or a charge for driving on the road. Right? There is no charge to my credit card, as was in this case, because the rental company would have been charged, or they would have been sent the bill and they just take the money off of my credit card. I don't have a problem in Trinidad. But guess what? If I go to Guyana, I have to do that. Yes. Guess what? If I go to Jamaica, I will have to pay that because there are toll roads, there are toll gates in Jamaica and toll gates in Guyana. So when Mr. Mitchell says travel and see how good you all have here, these are the things that he's referencing. Why he didn't make specific mention of it. The things that we take for granted here, but we complaining the road's terrible. You know why the roads aren't up to scratch as you all wanted? Because it costs a lot of money. And whereas in the US, in Florida, and other places where they have the toll gates, in New York, I recall when I went to New York back in May, and had to get a taxi from the airport to go into Manhattan, and I asked the young lady, the dispatcher, I said, was the cost, was the fare from the airport to Manhattan? And she said, well, the fare is about $75, but then you have about $26 in tolls, right? $26 in tolls from the airport to downtown Manhattan. Yeah. So the tolls money is available to be able to ensure that the road's good. Because if you want me to be paying that kind of money just on every trip, and this was one trip, right? This is one way from the airport to Manhattan. One way, $26 in tolls. So if you expect me to pay that kind of money, then the roads had better be damn good, right? So, but if the government of Trinidad and Tobago were to say we're imposing toll road, all who complain about the state of the road and the road bad and the road terrible, you feel all they're going to say, well, okay, yes, that's a good idea. You use the money from the tolls to fix the highway? No, this government wicked. They only want to oppress poor and they only want to take money from the people and so on. The government's revenue base, the average amount of money that they have to spend every year is around the same thing, coming from the same sources in the main. But you all want more and more and more and expect the government to do more with less. Oil production is down, through no fault of the government because we are a mature province. Gas production is down, which is where the government gets the majority of its revenue, oil and gas sector, the manufacturing sector, and to some extent other aspects of the private sector now stepping up to the plate. But it's still going to take a little while for them to run past. But nevertheless, if oil and gas production is down and the prices are not where the government would like it to be, where would them to get the money from? Yeah, put more bed in the hospital. Instead of advocating for people to take better care of their health, or advocating for the government to probably spend some money in the parks, put the exercising equipment that you have in some of the parks, put it in more parks, make it more available for people who mightn't be able to spend money to go to the gym, and ensure that these facilities are well maintained, not overrun with grass due to the negligence of some of the regional corporations. And I'm talking about on both sides here, PNM and UNC corporations have in some cases been negligent with respect to maintenance of these public parks. but advocate for that, for some kind of campaign encouraging people to eat healthy. And only feel that when you're advocating for more beds in the hospital, that is a good thing. Let us build more accommodation to accommodate more sick people. So telling people now, don't bother to take care of your health. You eat and drink what you want. Smoke, drink alcohol, drink as much soft drink as you want, get diabetes, hypertension, eat sugar, or such a thing with sugar and salt and all of that. And when you get sick, it's free. You're paying health surcharge, and even if you're not paying health surcharge, you know you can go and lie down in the hospital and you get a free bed and medication at the expense of the state. Because when at the start of the year or when the budget is being read, the minister doesn't know how many people are going to be going to the hospital for treatment over the course of the next 12 months. He doesn't know that, right? So he can't budget, well, 200,000 people going to be seeking medical care in the public health sector over the course of the next 12 months. So I need to do a budget for that. So you're lying on free bed, you're getting free meals, doctor attending to you, and then when you leave in the hospital, they're giving you a prescription to go to the dispensary to get free medication. And then you could fill out the CDAP form and go to private pharmacies, and the government paying for that, right? All of that the government paying for on the same limited budget. But this government, the country for vote back the PNM, all have to be crazy. But some of you are living in your own house with your limited paycheck, right? But your children want this, that, the other, and the next. You can't get them everything that they want because your salary would not allow it. It's the same situation that the government is in. But you expect your children to understand when you tell them, hey, mommy and daddy can't afford that right now, right? Because, yeah, the salary not salarying to be able to afford that. You might be able to get a thing when you get a little bonus or something, or they take a loan. But for now, we can't give you that. Yes, we know you need a new school bag, but you got to patch it up for this term. And then next term, we should be able to get you something better. Or you might just have to go to school with the same shoe from last term or last year, just for the first term. And then after that, you'll get one in January, as the case may be. Because you want them to understand the financial crunch that you're in. It's not that you don't want to give it to them, It's just that you can't afford because your income will not allow it. But you all understand that. But the government is telling you the same thing. It's not that we don't want to fix all the roads in the country. The ministers drive on the same roads too. Where if they have special roads that when somehow they call ahead and say, hey, the minister passing on this road here, yeah, roll out the proper road so that the minister could drive on proper road. And then when he leaves, retract the proper road and let the ordinary citizens go and drive on the pothole roads. The same potholes the prime minister goes through, the same potholes Rohan Sinanan has to go through as well. I didn't know it has special roads designed specifically for the ministers of government. So they know the challenges too, but the money simply is not there to fix all the roads. But you all will never hold the big businesses with the big trucks that overload in, right, and damaging the roads. Some of the very same contractors who are hired and who are earning hundreds of millions of dollars to pave roads, they themselves, they're big trucks damaging the road. But they wouldn't say, as a citizen of Trinidad and Tobago, you know what? Let me give back, because I'm going to take a level of responsibility that in fact there's my heavy equipment also contributing to the state that the road is in. So I'll get the government a blind, right? So all of these big contractors could come together and say, hey, what now, fellas? Let me do something now, right? Because the government don't have the money right now, the citizens struggling. We could pave a few secondary roads. Even if we tell the government we will provide the material and they pay for the labor, or we provide the labor and they pay for the material, but let us be good citizens. Let's come together and give back to the country. No, we're just waiting to see when the government put out the RFP and we're going and bid, right? Money in we pocket. So we could buy more Range Rovers and we could bring down the best, what is Rolls Royce and all of that, the Cullinan and whatever, and we could buy private jet. All of these different things. Imagine you have road paving contractors who have private jet in this country and the government doesn't have a private jet. The government can't afford that. And even if the government were to be able to buy one, just as when Mr. Manning had proposed it to establish the executive jet facility in Piaco, which would have been another revenue generating measure for this country, the fully dance, jump up and follow, Manning just want a private jet because he figure he's the emperor and all of that and think. But you weren't listening to when Mr. Manning was saying, when the prime minister does not need to use the aircraft, we could lease it out to business entities in the country who may have need for those services, right? So you might have some bank executive who has to attend a meeting in some other Caribbean country, and we could lease or rent out the aircraft to them and make some money to maintain the aircraft and put some into the coffers. So like the other day when it is that Trevor James went to, where was the Bahamas or Curacao or wherever it is, and the storm or the hurricane was coming and he wanted to come back home, and he spent how much thousands of US dollars to charter a private jet to get back to Tobago. If we had purchased the jet that Mr. Manning wanted, or two, perhaps that could have been used and the money could have remained here in the country. But Ole didn't want that. No, Manning wanted to be an emperor, right? When Mr. Manning said we could also make the service available to other regional heads, other prime ministers around the region who might be in need of that service. They pay our money and they use the aircraft and they go where they had to go. The money comes into the coffers of Trinidad and Tobago. This was the level of forethought that Mr. Manning had. But as usual with the fully done's, anything that the PNM does that makes sense. Vanity project, vanity project. We could spend our money to build hospital, and we could spend our money to fix the school, and we could spend our money to get children to put food card, and we could spend our money for uniform grant. Only thing you are promoting is a set of handouts. Only set of handouts. Yeah, they ain't increasing the pension for the old people, but they have money to spend on this and have money to spend on that. The government increased the income ceiling for the pension from 4,500 to 5,500. You know what that means? So it means, contrary to the nonsense that the fully done like to talk about, the government doesn't have to say, well, we're increasing actual pension from 3,500 to 4,500, whatever. They increase the income ceiling under the People's Partnership. It said that if your total income for the month is up to 4,500, you can't get nothing more. So if you're getting $3,000 from NIS, the most you could have gotten to make up that $4,500 ceiling was $1,500 from the government senior citizens grant. This administration increased it to $5,500, so that if it is that you're receiving the $3,000 from NIS, you could get a little more from the senior citizen grant. You wouldn't get the full $3,500, but you could get enough to bring you up to the $5,500 income ceiling. Whereas before, under the PP, you could only get $1,500. Under this administration, you could get the extra $2,500 or so, or within that band, to bump it up. But these clueless clowns want to come and talk, Upting and Rowley, and they're not increasing the pension for the old people and all of that. The government provides so many other things for the senior citizens to ease their pocket. So they could go and jump on a PTSC bus for free. Once you're over, I think, is it 60 or 65? For free. So they don't have to spend money on transportation of that nature. They want to go to Tobago, they could jump on the ferry for free. These are the things that the government puts. So it's not just always putting money in the hands of the people, but find other creative and innovative ways, things that the elderly citizens spend money on, and let the state pay for that. I think if they had to get a passport or something else, they don't pay for that or something so. But these are the little things. But in all your mind, the only way that the government could improve what they give to the senior citizens is to increase the pension. So the grandchild and the children who digging out their eyes could get more to spend. But they can't use the senior citizen ID card to go and travel on the bus because the driver could see it is not you. These are the things that the family members cannot take from them. But when you want to increase the pension, yeah, there's more to take. So the senior citizen who can't go to the bank every month, or who cannot go to the grocery by virtue of the fact that they don't have the physical wherewithal. So they're bedridden, and they're depending on their loved ones to support them. And they give them the bank card or make them a nominee to go and cash the pension check. And they're doing the bare minimum, and the people still catching the nenen. Yeah, let me increase it so that these people could get more and live off of the state at the expense of their loved one who lie down in a bed there and suffering, and they're waiting for them to die. Yeah, but that's your idea of anyway, let me move on. So in respect to that, that Ria Rampersad is saying, I still thankful for the job, but it's a set of who you know to get a job. I wouldn't dispute that. And that is very unfortunate. Very, very unfortunate. Public sector, and it exists both in the public and private sector. But we know in the public sector, reform is a very difficult thing to accomplish because the people who have been there and who are entrenched in the system and who have become accustomed to the status quo which benefits them, as Dr. Rowley had to tell us a few years ago, that when you have a situation where a cabinet directive, the cabinet sends out a directive to all ministries to put the signage or the decal on all government ministry vehicles so that you could identify which ministry this vehicle belongs to. So if you go up on Maracas Beach on a Sunday morning and you see a Ministry of Education vehicle park up in the car park for 3-4 hours, you know they're not doing Ministry of Education work. When you see it park up, if it is that you see a Ministry of Finance vehicle pull up Saturday morning by the market, right? And you see a man come out toting 2 big bags and his wife and 2 children, you know he not doing Ministry of Finance work. He using the state resources for his own personal use because they're using the fleet card to put gas in the vehicle, wear and tear on the vehicle, all these things Dr. Rowley spoke about, that the cabinet issue that instruction and that you have pushback from senior public servants refusing to carry out that instruction because they're telling themselves they too because some of them benefiting from it, who using the state, who have the authority to use these vehicles as if it's their own, right? So they refuse to put the labeling on the vehicles, even though the government said to do it, so that if an ordinary citizen suspects that that is what is taking place, that you could report them. They refuse to do it and telling themselves, well, it have a few months to go before a general election, and that is a directive that came from a PNM cabinet. So hopefully the UNC will win, and then we could cast that out because that was new UNC policy. And we will continue doing what we're doing because we benefiting from it. You're getting a salary, you know, but still abusing state assets at the expense of taxpayers because the taxpayers have to pay for the fuel. Then you use the fleet card or they go with the receipt book by the NP gas station and full up. And then that bill coming to the government to pay. How do you fix that? Well, the people who are tasked with the responsibility of fixing it are themselves the beneficiary of the broken system and don't want to fix it because if you fix it, it's affecting their pockets negatively. Any government can fix that? But we don't talk that talk. But coming back to the issue, I played the clip there of this video, the video with the platform, the BP platform. And you would have heard in that 400 jobs were created as a result of the fabrication of that platform, right? 400 jobs. Separate and apart from how much millions of dollars would have been spent on the platform itself. Defense line communities, because while that rig was being, or that platform was being fabricated, of course, you would have had the workers need to buy lunch and food and things. So you have the women in the area, or even the people in the area who could cook. You see them, lunchtime, they pull up in the station wagon and they're selling food out of the trunk of the car. Or they come and they set up a little tent and they have the thing and the men could come and buy food and they make some money. And then, of course, TOFCO would have to purchase stuff, equipment and certain other things from businesses within the defense line communities ranging from Point Forte to La Brea and San Fernando and these areas. So the community benefited, right? Let us juxtapose that against, you all remember, take your blasted rig and go. Remember that? I'll play this. Let's see here. Let me get this here.
Former Energy Minister and MP for La Brea, Nicole Oliver, says a decision by BP to opt out of building its Angeline platform in Trinidad and Tobago can negatively affect.
To statements by Minister Stuart Young at a news conference on Tuesday, suggesting the company was considering moving the project out of this country in an interest of time. Janine Brown reports.
The La Brea MP says it would be unfortunate if the Angeline platform is not built in this country. The construction of the US $2 billion platform was originally awarded to Trinidad offshore fabricators with a timeline dated December 2016. Responding via text message to questions from CNews, Ms. Oliver said TOFCO has the experience and the expertise to successfully construct offshore platforms, with the recently launched Juniper platform being the most recent example. She went on to say, Angeline is a smaller platform weighing in at 1,800 tons deck and jacket compared to Juniper, which weighed 5,100 tons deck only. Competency, she says, is therefore not an issue.
Ms. Oliver noted that platform fabrication represents a major cost component in offshore oil and gas exploration, and retaining this expenditure in-country will translate to a significant contribution to local content. The Liberal MP said when one considers that these expenses are recovered by the company prior to payment of taxes, then you get a better understanding of the magnitude of loss to the local economy when the bulk of the capital expenditure is allowed to leave the shores. Janine Brown, C News.
In a statement this afternoon, BPTT maintains while it continues to progress the completion of a gas sales agreement as a prerequisite to the sanction of Angeline, it's also continuing to pursue all options to maintain the project schedule and first gas goal of early 2019. The company says it's a priority to ensure that gas supply volumes can be maintained in 2019 and beyond. BPTT says while it remains fully committed to maximizing local content in all its operations, given the compressed project timelines and other competitiveness factors for the Angeline project, local fabrication is no longer a feasible option. BPTT assures that although the Angeline platform will not be fabricated in Trinidad, the company is committed to maintaining an option of fabrication in-country for future platforms. It says the decision, although difficult, was necessary to preserve Angeline's project schedule.
2 billion, as analysts say, billion US. 2 billion US, which we lost. Wonder the contribution that 2 billion US could have had on our Forex situation, right? Take your rig and go. This was what President of the Oilfield Workers Trade Union, Ansel Roger, is advising oil and gas giant BP following the company's decision not to fabricate its Angeline gas platform in Trinidad and Tobago. Roger said the OWTU does not feel responsible for BP's latest decision. Roger was speaking to reporters this afternoon as the joint trade union movement protested outside the Prime Minister's office in St. Clair. BP, unfortunately, is holding the government to ransom, as they would do in any third world country with governments. Oh, Lord, just no. Yeah. I continue. What this decision says is that if BP did not have its way to support the type of exploitation of workers, just no. Give me one sec, right? Don't know what happened there. Okay, good. Right. We'll take, yes, where was I? Right. BP, and this is Roger speaking. Let's know. Give me one sec, folks. Right. Where am I? Yeah, just got a call there. Right. Roger said OWTU. Roger was speaking to reporters this afternoon at the GTAM's protest outside the PM's office. He says BP, unfortunately, is holding the government to ransom, as they would do in any third world country, with governments that are really void of any ideas on how to deal with those multinationals. What this decision says is as if BP did not have its way to support the type of exploitation of workers who produce the wealth, that they are prepared to withdraw the construction of a particular platform. Roger said. He went on, well, take your platform and go, because we are not prepared to have any type of construction in an environment that is unsafe, unhealthy, and certainly that is devoid of good industrial relations practices. Roger said BP as a multinational company cannot take a hands-off approach and allow local contractors to do as they feel. We are prepared to send that message internationally, he said. Construction of BP's last major gas development, Juniper, came to a standstill at one point because of protests by Labray residents and employees of Tufco. The company contracted to fabricate the platform. Due to the delays, BP relocated part of the fabrication process to Texas, saying the decision was difficult but necessary. BP said this week that the Angeline platform will not be fabricated in Trinidad due to project timelines and other competitiveness factors. Former Energy Minister, MP for Labray, Nicole Oliver, said yesterday that the protests during Juniper's construction may have discouraged investors. Right? Take your platform and go. Wonder how come he didn't come out and say take your platform and go this time? According to what he said here, so what went on with this platform where 400 persons were employed? 400 persons were employed. How many families did that benefit? BP is here to stay. Let me see where it is here. So all the things that he called out here about unsafe, unhealthy, and an environment that is unsafe and unhealthy and certainly is devoid of good industrial relations practices. So that didn't happen this time. Mr. Roger, you're still inclined to say take your platform and go? $2 billion lost with Angeline. How many jobs would that have provided? Just asking. That was our whole platform. How many jobs? They have to talk about how much jobs and the government decimate the energy sector and all of that. With falling oil and falling gas production, why is BPTT still here? You know why? Because they understand the power that the current administration wields with respect to gas fields that BP was not able to negotiate for themselves. That Stuart Young and Dr. Rowley have been able to leverage diplomatic relations to be able to do things, open doors that BP can't open. And so hopefully Tuesday, the result of Tuesday's election in the US would further assist in that situation once the US citizens make the right decision. They understand the assignment, and from what I am seeing, it appears so far that they understand the assignment. But we'll see how that goes. So that would be obstacle number 2, and the last obstacle to 2027 and the revival of our gas sector in particular is for you, the citizens of Trinidad and Tobago, to make the right decision, understand the assignment, and put the right team of people to lead this country for the next 5 years. Right. Something else I wanted to touch on there, right? No, in the interest of time, yeah. Could leave that there, right? So I just wanted to read one more thing. In response to Mr. Roger's take your rig and go, the energy chamber, which Mrs. Prasad Bisesa says, should she come back into power, she will create a parallel entity to rival the energy chamber, which comprises all of the major energy companies in Trinidad and Tobago. They sit on the board of the energy chamber and so on, right? Membership and like. And so she's basically saying that they have an agenda that is not in line with the UNC's agenda. And so should she become prime minister, will create a parallel organization to rival the energy chamber. But this is what the energy chamber had to say when Mr. Roger made that statement. And the title of their release, their press release is, "They took, they went, we lost." First, the good news. The new Angeline platform commissioned by BPTT is home to be installed. That's the $2 billion US Angeline that we lost. If all goes well, it will start producing much needed additional gas in early 2019. Good news for those who work in the energy sector and for all of us, as the additional gas will help stem the drop in gas production, help TNT fulfill its supply contracts, and add to the overall economy. It's a crying shame, though, that it was not better news. As the platform set off to its future location, we could have been celebrating a major moment for TNT's engineering and manufacturing sector. Who knows? Future orders and many more people in employment in the economically deprived area of La Brea. Well, we just had this platform there. Sadly, this outcome will remain just a dream, and no thanks to our all too familiar culture of confrontation, bravado, and intransigence when it comes to industrial relations. It all seemed to be going well. TNT's TOFCO had been awarded the fabrication of a similar platform, Juniper. That project was expected to employ over 750 people at its peak, 95% of them being TNT nationals and 55% of them from La Brea. Juniper was delivered and is in operation, but not without upheavals. Following industrial relations problems that threatened the project, the fabrication of parts of the platform had to be moved to Texas to make sure it was delivered on time. And the result of all of that? For Angeline, BPTT did not want to go through the high-risk attrition game it saw during Juniper's construction. To be safe, in early 2017, it decided to build the platform outside of Trinidad and Tobago. And the company's decision led to perhaps one of the most memorable soundbites in the country's history, when Oilfield Workers Trade Union President Ansel Roger told BPTT, "Take your platform and go." To run the full quote, he said, "Take your platform and go, because we are not prepared to have any construction in an environment that is unsafe, unhealthy, and certainly that is devoid of industrial relations practices." A tad rich, given TOFCO's solid health and safety record, And the preaching about industrial relations practices comes from a man who, just a year earlier, had been found guilty of defamation against a former NP manager after allegations he made against her were found to be, in the words of the judge, wholly unsupported, untrue, and outlandish. To put in plain English, the man lied, and in a big way. That's why instead of seeing Angeline departing from La Brea, we had to witness the platform arriving from Altamira in Mexico, where it was fully built. Our loss, Mexico's gain, and yes, Mexico is known for its lower wages when compared to the US, but its average monthly wage is around TT 8,500, hardly breadline material. So they're saying here that of these 750 workers, right, would have been earning an average wage of around $8,500, and we're talking here about 2018, 2019. A normal laborer, at least $8,500. The loss wasn't limited to Tufco or another contractor. What it is all too easy for our union leaders to forget is that the economic ripple effect of such major projects is huge. Every employee, when paid, spends at a local grocery store, helping local food producers at shops selling clothes or domestic appliances, helping local salespeople and manufacturers, and yes, even rum shops. That in turn brings in much needed additional tax receipts to help pay for public services. In this case, the loss was even more criminal. It would have brought much needed foreign direct investment, injecting additional US dollars into our economy at a time when we are worried about our foreign currency reserves. 2 billion US, 2 billion US, right? After all, BPTT, that's not right. Okay, right. And it wouldn't have been the kind of speculative foreign direct investment many governments worry about. After all, BPTT would be investing in pipes and wires, not stocks and bonds. And the full cost of a project like Angeline can easily generate TT 10 billion of business in the shape of manufacturing and services. Not everything is spent directly in the country, mostly because of the very specialized nature of the equipment services required. But the fabrication of this type of platform can bring in over TT 1 billion in direct investment. Ironically, it's the unionized workers of Altamira in Mexico who have a lot to thank Mr. Roger for his flippant remarks. They took the platform, thus making the wages that came and taking the wages that came with it. And the actions and reaction by the union leadership may have also baffled many of their comrades in other countries. Elsewhere, you tend to see unions fighting tooth and nail to secure contracts to long-tail sectors like shipyards in order to save jobs in the short term and secure the future of their industry, as they know a manufacturing plant without a major contract almost certainly equals gates closed forever. The crucial question is whether all of us, especially some of our union leaders, will learn from the two recent and sobering industrial events, the loss of our steelworks and soon afterwards the loss of the Angeline contract. If they don't, we must. It is about time we question our country's approach to industrial relations and at the same time challenge this scorched earth policy routinely adopted by major union leaders. They may rejoice with their memorable quotes or stunts. Sadly, we can hardly rejoice when we see lower investments, fewer jobs, and a poorer country thanks to their actions. Right? As the energy chamber, it wasn't mixing matters. They took, they went, we lost. Don't need to say anything more on that. But today, he's in bed with Kamala and the UNC, right? Hoping for Kamala to come back. Hoping that the refinery wouldn't be sold, so maybe as a token for his support in 2025 and helping them to get back into office, maybe she might get him a blight and give them the refinery. After she opposed it in 2019 when the government said, well, okay, we will give it to we will give it to Patriotic under favorable terms, right? We wouldn't ask them for all the money up front. We will give them a moratorium of 10 years. 10 years before they start to pay back. Get your money, start the refinery, make your money, and as you start to make your money, pay back, pay for it from revenue. Don't go and borrow no billions of dollars to come and pay for it now, and then you have to struggle at the start to make money to be able to pay that debt. We're giving you 10 years. We're giving it to you on credit, and even that they couldn't do. But today he in bed with Kamala. And the same energy chamber that put out this scathing report, this scathing article I just read for you. See why she have a problem with it? Yeah, and still whispering in her ears probably. But anyway, in the interest of time, let me deal with the last thing I wanted to touch on. So as I told you all, crave your indulgence moment, and you know when I say that what I mean. All right. So forgive me. But sometimes you had to show up these liars. So let me get this here. I don't like to listen to him either, but it is what it is. I want to kill you all with the whole thing.
But on doubles and coffee, instead of the headlines reading Imbot must go, Imbot resign, Imbot has bankrupted Trinidad and Tobago, Forex crisis, Imbot's fault, Imbot's policies have been seen to be totally calamitous to Trinidad and Tobago's economy. People are crying out, businesses are dying, foreign exchange crisis, worst in our history. Imbot and the PNM have failed, have flopped. What up? Instead of seeing and hearing the truth, we have headlines and newspaper articles in our beloved country saying that Colm Imbot, the man who created the crisis, the man who hid the crisis, the man who lied about the crisis, the man who forged numbers in the parliament and fudged and created a crisis, the man who exacerbated the crisis, the man who has collapsed the economy, the man who has run foreign exchange out of here, the man who has overseen negative foreign direct investment over the last 5 years. We must hear that he is going to investigate and offer and proffer solutions to a crisis created by him. And you all write that, and we expect us, the country, to read it, to digest it, and to accept it. What is wrong with us in Trinidad and Tobago? Please tell me. Colm Imbot, since he came in, he created the foreign exchange crisis. The first thing he did was to fire Jawala Rambaran. You all don't remember? Jawala Rambaran had the first signs of possible pressure on foreign exchange. The first signs, the first little mosquito buzz in the air. He said, listen, there's a distribution problem here. The problem can be solved by equity, by fairness, by sharing the foreign exchange. Don't get big billionaires to hoard the foreign exchange. So he told the people, listen, these are the people who are getting and what amounts and so on, so that everybody could get a fair shake. Jawala Rambaran was fired and removed by the PNM. Then he was going to apply for a job outside, and the very Colm Imbot on record in the court, didn't know the upstreamers, and Rowley and Smallpin in the same government that Colm Imbot was acting Prime Minister and Minister of Finance, went to Houston and concluded the most dotish, pathetic, abusive negotiation on the people of Trinidad and Tobago, and NGC made a loss for the first time in history as a result of that. Also, Point Lisa's companies started to close down, wind down, and shut down. 11 companies left. All of this bringing extra strain on the foreign exchange rate, the availability of currency. Imbot said the economy is booming. The energy.
Right. So as I said, I won't kill you all to listen to the rest of this. Because basically everything that come out of his mouth there is garbage. Yeah, he should just be walking around the place. When he goes out in public, he should have a Pampers on his face, right? And the part that is supposed to collect the feces should be over his mouth, because that's all he just took. Yeah. When he finished, wipe and just flush. So let me deal with this thing about Colm Imbot caused the Forex crisis, and it's Colm Imbot fault, and Colm Imbot and Jawala Rambaran was this innocent man, and he, right. Let me read this article here for you. Dated the 30th of April 2014. Who was the Prime Minister on the 30th of April 2014? Who was in government on the 30th of April 2014? Not Keith Rowley and not the PNM. Who was the Minister of Finance? Not Colm Imbot, it was the $11.625 million man, Larry Hawaii. And the central bank governor was who? Not Alvin Hille, but one Jawala Rambaran, as I just said there. Guardian article, as I just read for you, 30th of April 2014, entitled Business Worries Over US Dollar Supply. Economist Roger Hussein is warning that a continued shortage of US dollars in the local market could have negative repercussions for TNT's currency. He said a shortage in supply of the foreign currency could also result in price hikes. Hussein's comments come on the heels of a statement issued Monday by the TTMA expressing dissatisfaction over problems accessing foreign exchange for business operations. The persistence of this type of foreign exchange shortage, as has happened in the past in the TNT economy and as currently occurs in Guyana and Jamaica, and is still happening in Guyana despite the fact that they are producing 650,000 barrels of oil per day, still experiencing Forex shortages just like Trinidad and Tobago, can promote a parallel market for foreign exchange at higher prices. Indeed, persistent shortages with a floating exchange should prompt a depreciation of the currency over time, he said. From a supply perspective, listen to this, from a supply perspective, the problem is a bit puzzling as the energy sector earns huge sums of foreign exchange and the central bank has about 10 billion US in gross official reserves, while local banks also have large US dollar deposits. Perhaps the central bank may want to reconsider the way it releases money into the banking system. So he's saying here from a supply perspective, the problem is a bit puzzling. So you're trying to understand if the central bank have 10 billion in reserves, the banks have large US deposits, and the energy companies are making huge sums of US dollars. How come we still have a shortage? How come? Ever heard of hoarding, sir? But the same problem, I guess the same problem that existed then that was baffling him as to why we had a shortage when we had all of these sources of foreign exchange. I guess that existed here, right? So whatever was causing it then, that was fixed. All right. The pace at which the central bank releases foreign exchange to the domestic economy shouldn't be at such discrete intervals so as to create foreign currency shortages, especially given the stock of foreign reserves. So he's advocating we should have used the foreign reserves then, 2014, under the People's Partnership. It made sense to use the foreign reserves to ease up the supply issues. But today, when the same government is using the same foreign reserves to, one, provide supply to try and ease up the issue, the problem, and two, to maintain or to defend the current exchange rate at 679, 677 to 679. One of the things that this bald-headed lout refused or forgot to mention was that one of the policy decisions that was taken very early on in the life of this administration in 2015, even before they came in anticipation of coming into office, it was announced that the government would be prepared to allow the exchange rate, because I think when they came in 2015, it might have been around 656, 660. And then they were prepared to allow it to slide to 680. And then the minister said, at that point, the government would step in and use the country's foreign reserves to defend the exchange rate by providing supply. Right? That's what they're doing. But in 2014, it was okay to advocate to use the foreign reserves to provide supply. But in 2024, this government didn't know what they're doing. Look at where the foreign reserves is. And they're trying to prop up the foreign reserves at borrowings and all kind of, right. One wonders whether some of this foreign exchange shortage is not due to ugly trends in the domestic crime situation, motivating some economic agents to engage in capital flight. If this were to be the case, then the authorities have yet another reason to be more aggressive in their fight against crime. Capital flight. So people taking money, US dollars, and banking it abroad. In response to concerns over the foreign currency supply, sources at the central bank said it has been steadily implementing a series of new and improved mechanisms to enhance the distribution of US currency in the local foreign exchange market. And as we indicated back in February 2014, we will be taking aggressive steps to deal with the unusual degree of tightness that was being experienced in the market at the time. We believe these steps have been successful. The unusual tightness. But he coming to tell you, yes, it's called Membert started. It's called Membert. It had no, between 2010 to 2015, it had no foreign exchange shortage problem. It was Membert started as soon as he come in because he didn't know what he doing. And they fired Jawala Rambaran, who knew he was the great Forex wizard. The same man who changed the distribution methodology and gave licenses to Tom, Dick, Harry, Jenny, and Jane so that they too could sell foreign exchange to the central bank. When now, instead of providing foreign exchange to the usual sellers, which would have been the commercial banks and a few other finance houses, you had a set of fly-by-night people that nobody don't know about. who are applying for license, the friends, family, and financiers of the UNC, applying for license and getting through, getting a supplier for foreign exchange, but nobody don't know them. So that if I wanted US and the bank tell me don't have, I don't know any of these other players because they're not advertising to say, well, okay, I could go buy so-and-so in Arima. They got a license. Or I could go buy so-and-so in Diego Martin or so-and-so in Shogunas. They weren't advertising that. They get license. They receive any hard currency US from the central bank as the case may be. But only certain people know who they are. So the rest of the public, if you needed to know, if you needed US, you don't know that these people exist. But you know who knew? All right. So you might have no problem. Shortage, no? Yeah, well, go by John now. Yeah, you know, John has license and John getting foreign exchange from. Just let him know how much you need and he'll call central bank and they'll get fair. Really? I didn't know that, yeah. But that is not a talk here because that is not for everybody. He is only certain people he's selling for. Okay. But that was good. That was a good idea. Let me give you another one. Where is it? Chamber.org TT. This time the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce, May 15th, 2014. Who was the Prime Minister? Who was the Minister of Finance on May 15, 2014? To news editors for immediate release. Chamber helps find solutions to US foreign exchange shortage. The Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce believes that the time is now to collaborate on a solution for the perennial challenge being experienced by the business community in obtaining US currency. In September 2013, the Chamber spoke directly with some of our members who indicated that they were again experiencing a severe shortage of foreign exchange to meet their various companies' operational needs and payments to their suppliers. These concerns were brought to the attention of the governor of the central bank. A follow-up survey in 2014 has indicated that our business community is continuing to be plagued by the lack of available foreign exchange in US dollars in the local market. In spite of the central bank's new system of allocation of US dollars to the authorized dealers, and despite the recent further injection of US 50 million into the local foreign exchange market, a third follow-up survey with our members has indicated that the situation has not improved. So when he wants to come and defend Jawala and Jawala Rambaran and whatnot, the Chamber is telling you in 2014, despite the fact that they changed up the distribution methodology and expanded the number of Forex dealers that you could go to, the situation has not improved. It's not me saying so. This is the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Commerce saying so in 2014. Some of our businesses are experiencing severe difficulties with respect to meeting their foreign exchange needs to pay suppliers for imported goods, which can have a detrimental impact on their operations and the viability of their businesses, says Catherine Kumar, CEO of the Chamber. Our members have also expressed some concern with the new arrangement for allocation to the authorized dealers. The private sector is now being advised to shop around for foreign exchange, but this is not an efficient way for them to conduct their business. So this is the CEO of the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber telling you, you see that stupidness that Jawala Rambaran did? By extending and giving license to everybody and coming to tell you shop around if you are getting the bank to shop around. She is saying that is not efficient, that is nonsense. This is not Keith Rowley saying this. This is not Coleman Wood. This is Catherine Kumar, who was the then CEO of the Chamber, telling the government that. And they sent this to all media houses because they wanted Kamala to read it. They wanted Hawaii to read it. They wanted Jawala Rambaran to read it, and the rest of the government then to read it. They weren't afraid to let their feelings known. But anyway, it continues. And even when this is done, their requirements are not being met. Additionally, the business purchaser ends up paying a higher rate for their US dollars. A higher rate. Given the current scenario, the Chamber will be hosting a meeting on June 6th at the Chamber building, which will bring together the business community, the president of the Bankers Association, and the governor of the central bank to allow direct conversation and understanding of each of the parties' roles in the distribution of US dollars. As always, the Chamber will promote a collaborative approach to provide meaningful recommendations for resolving this current situation in a sustainable manner. Again, May 15th, 2014. This is a whole year and 4 months prior to the general election of 2015. But this bald-headed lout, this rumcock coming to tell you is Coleman Wood, and Coleman Wood responsible for the Forex crisis, and it's Coleman Wood. Let me see, there was another one. Last one. Newsday article dated Sunday, 8th of June, 2014. Foreign supplier warns TNT risk rating downgrade. The president of the company flew into Trinidad to investigate personally why local importers have been unable to pay for their goods and to see firsthand the US dollar shortage they have been complaining about since the beginning of the year. So here it is that we have the president of a foreign company that supplies stuff to Trinidad and Tobago, that exports things to Trinidad and Tobago. He decided, well, nah, I can't believe this. My customers keep telling me they ain't getting US to be able to satisfy the bill. I don't understand how that could exist. Let me go to Trinidad for myself, right? So he spent his money, hop on a plane and came to Trinidad and Tobago in 2014 to see if this thing is real, or if it is these companies in Trinidad who he's sending his goods to, if they pull in his legs. He came. I continue. He attended Friday's meeting held by the Trinidad and Tobago Chamber of Industry and Commerce at its West Moorings headquarters. At the meeting, Central Bank Governor Jawala Rambaran and the president of the Bankers Association, Larry Nath, assured business people that the foreign exchange problems will be over by the end of the month. Rambaran said that the foreign energy companies which operate in TNT, which are the country's major earners of US dollars, will begin releasing the US dollars they receive into the system by this week, and the situation should improve over the rest of the month until month end. But at the end of the meeting, the foreign supplier said he wasn't buying any of what Rambaran and Nath had said. This is the foreign supplier, the US or whatever country come from, I think it's the US. He say, you see that BS, them just sell there? I don't know what pound they're selling it, but I'm not buying it. He said this country's AA rating by Standard & Poor's should be in jeopardy, and it will be in jeopardy if they do not correct the situation. In a brief interview, he told the Sunday Newsday, I hear what they are saying, that they are injecting money for what was short 3 months ago. So, right. Very rich. He said, adding that they are playing catch up, not getting current. And I think Trinidad should be realizing that they will be in jeopardy of their AA Standard & Poor's rating should the business community not be able to supply goods and services to the people of Trinidad and Tobago. As a foreign supplier, we are cutting back our exposure to Trinidad simply because we are told we can't get paid. And if we can't get paid, then there is no point in risking our capital into this market. Late last year, Standard & Poor's awarded this country A ratings, confirming the strength of its economy. At a post-cabinet briefing in January 2014, Minister of Finance and Economy Larry Hawaii announced that the International Ratings Agency had confirmed the A. The finance minister said the country's foreign currency reserve position was further strengthened by the reserves of over US $5 billion in the Heritage and Stabilization Fund. He suggested that the central bank, the Bankers Association, and all major banks should get together and realize the harm they are causing and bring this current situation to an end. So he was blaming the banks, right? He was Minister of Finance, he wasn't blaming himself. He said it's the central bank, the Bankers Association need to come together. Where was that rum cork to blame Larry Hawaii? You see how significant and how dire the situation was in 2014? Where was he? He didn't come out and say, Larry Hawaii, and it's Larry Hawaii fault, and Larry Hawaii. No. He didn't come out and blame Jawala Rambaran. No, they weren't to blame for that. But now it's Coleman Wood fault. It's Keith Rowley fault and Stuart Chung fault. He said, start putting the US dollars to the foreign suppliers that import goods and services and get payments back on time. He said he was not persuaded by anything he heard at Friday's meeting, and this is the foreign supplier. The proof is in the pudding, and I have to see them walk the talk. He added that the US $50 million the central bank governor said had been released into the system on Thursday was nothing. They need to put US $500 million and get caught up. Knowing what the foreign reserves are, they have, and the price of energy, prices that are going up, they need to inject more capital, he said, adding that the US $50 million is nothing. He said they were short since February and March and May, and putting that kind of money in is filling the void that was there in those months, not getting caught up to June 6, 2014. This was the foreign supplier who came to Trinidad. And he did, in one day, he did an assessment of the whole situation. And he said, nah, you see what they're proposing there? You're injecting $50 million into the system, but that's to clear up the backlog. But the demand for US dollars is not static. So it's not like you inject 50 million and the problem goes away and then right. On a daily basis, you continue to have requests. And if these current requests are not being met, and the money that is being injected into the system is to satisfy requests that were made 2 and 3 and 4 months ago, you will always be behind. In 2014, in 2015, when Carl Membert came in, and at the time, the backlog was at 500 million US, right? That is what had been requested, and companies are waiting for that. Mr. Imbert instructed the central bank to inject the 500 million US into the system to clear up the backlog. But then the same problem started again. So he met that. He came in and met a 500 million US dollar queue. And if he had not given instructions to the central bank to release that money from the reserves to clear up that backlog, what would have been the situation? So for this lying lout to come and say it's Imbert caused it, and it's Imbert and Jawala Rambaran, and they fire Jawala because he see who gets in the bulk of it. And you see, nonsense. Rubbish. But the supporters like to hear that. People like Leo, that's what he like to hear. Yeah? Instead of treating with the problem head on. And the fact of the matter is, the current situation that we have now is as a result of what? The energy companies are not remitting as much foreign exchange because oil production is down, gas production is down. If they're not selling as much as they were selling before, then obviously the amount of US that they're getting based on the oil and gas that is selling from here is not as much. So how do we fix that problem? You need to increase production. How do you do that? You find new oil and new gas. Isn't the government doing that? So while David Lee and Kamala Basad are talking about giving concessions to the energy companies for them to find in-border gas and in-border oil. So come, we will have a bid, the bid rounds, and you could bid for an acreage. And you could go out there and do your seismic research and whatever else, and then you could invest how much money and drill and hope you find oil and hope you find gas. But if you don't find oil and you don't find gas, whatever money that you spent to drill that dry hole, you could write that off against the taxes and the royalties that you were supposed to pay us for the oil wells that you currently have and the gas wells that you currently have making money. So if the amount of money you spent is more than the amount of profits or dividends or whatever, or not dividends, sorry, taxes and royalties that you were supposed to pay us, well, of course, we get nothing. But at the end of the day, we just want you to come and look for new oil and look for new gas in border. When you have 200 trillion cubic feet of natural gas under the water, just over yonder in Venezuela, they're just there chilling, relaxing, waiting, hoping somebody will come with a pipeline and start to take out. But in the meantime, UNC advocating, forget that. Don't study that. Come and look in Trinidad. We're supposed to have. We know we have about 11 trillion. We just don't know where it is. So come and look for our 11 trillion as opposed to the 200 trillion that we know is there. We know where it is and it's ready to be extracted from the ground, which is what this government doing. So that is why come 2027, we have dragon, manatee, mannequin coquina, what's the others? Coconut, ginger, all of these different fields are supposed to come online on around 2027, 2028, thereabouts, where we will see an increase in production. So even if the prices don't go up, you're selling more even at the repressed prices. So more US coming into the system, right? And hopefully that should be able to ease. But when all these businesses that opening, everybody want to go into retail. Retail does not generate US dollars because you're not selling, people not paying for your stuff in US dollars. So you're taking precious US dollars, importing stuff, opening your business and selling retail in Trinidad. Your customers come in and giving you TT dollars, and then you're using this TT dollars to go to the bank now to take the precious, the scarce US dollars to go and buy more things to bring in. We should be focusing on manufacturing, selling, exporting, because the outside world will pay us in foreign currency, which we need. But even with the manufacturing that we have taking place now, because of the challenges that are being experienced, when these people bring their money to the local banks and then they need the money and the bank telling them they can't get it, or they have to wait weeks before they could get their money, you know what they're doing? They're opening their bank account outside in the United States. They put in their money there. When they had to get paid by their customers, pay the money inside it. The money staying outside. We ain't bringing it here for the bank to tell us we can't get it when we need it. In the US, there is no shortage of US dollars. So if it is they need to pay the suppliers, they just send instructions to the foreign bankers, please wire this money to so and so and so and so, and they have access to the money. So it's not coming here. That is not the government's fault. The government can't tell Republic Bank, Royal Bank, Scotia Bank how to run their business. If they're doing, because that's how they see they need to deal with it. We expect the government. We are not a communist country. We are not a socialist country. We are a free market, and therefore the government has to take a hands-off approach. They will do what they can from their side with the US that they have. They could dictate to the central bank, but not to the commercial banks. So we need to boost our manufacturing sector. Even if you do that, if the situation persists with the banks where people put in the money in the bank account, the US account here and can't get it, then they will just go outside. And it's not that hard to open an account outside. This fella, Karen Rose, who Munilal accused the other day of all manner of wrongdoing and whatnot with getting contract and so on, who recently migrated to Thailand. On his Facebook page, he just gave a whole instruction manual of how to go about opening an account in the United States of America. I have one in Bank of America, and it wasn't that hard. All I needed was a US address and my passport. That's all. And I didn't need to see proof of address. Unlike in Trinidad here, where they want you to bring a utility bill or something, and then you need proof of income. They want to see job letter and pay slip, 2 forms of ID and all of that. The only thing they haven't asked for yet is 2 pints of blood, a kidney, and your firstborn to open a bank account. Bank of America, passport, and I just need to tell them my US address. And in no time, account open. In no time, account open. And after 6 months, they don't your throat to take credit card. They give me 2 and want me to take more. Every time I go to Florida and I check the mail and I open the mailbox, there's all kind of pre-approved credit card applications in the mailbox. They send in my emails, check to see your credit limit has been approved, check to see if whatever it is and to complete the application process so that you can get your card. I don't want any more. 2 is enough. Thanks, but no thanks. But they keep bombarding me, right? So it's easy. Bank of America. What's the other one? TD Bank, Chase Bank, and there's some other one, a 4th one. Those other banks don't like to do business as what they call it, with suitcase customers. These are people who are living out of their suitcase. So you travel to the US, and all of your clothes, everything, your possessions that you came to the US with is in a suitcase. So you don't have residency in the US, so they don't open an account for you. But if you have a US address and your passport, you're good to go. So just making that point there, right? There was something else I wanted to touch on, but it's already 1:15. So I'll leave that there for now, right? On Tuesday, I'll deal with Ralph Maraj and his nonsense article today, and we'll touch on the 2 hotels as well. These 2 new hotels that are coming. Tobago, hard luck. Only in 1 hotel. I don't know who's going. So there's nothing we could do there. Hard luck. You see, that's the fundamental difference. 2 new Hilton hotels building in Trinidad. Nobody complaining. No complaints. Well, you know, if we don't want it or whatever it is, you have the Headline Readers Association and the Fully Dones will tell you who win and stay in the hotel and whatnot, but there's no pushback as they have in Tobago. We don't want the Rockley Bay because that is an ancestral grounds and all kind of nonsense. And anyway, let me just switch this thing here. Let me get this here. Laddie. So. Right, let's see what we're doing here. Just so let me get this here. Just okay. 1 second. Where is this? Hello, good afternoon.
Dominic,
Leave it there.
what's going on?
All is well.
Okay, boy.
Let me hear your bacchanal you're coming with now.
Says good evening. Hey, I be Jenny this morning, boy.
Mm-hmm. Almost.
Hey, Dominic.
Mm-hmm.
So Mount St. George now is the new member CARICOM.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
In listening to your program,
Mm-hmm.
taking what I say on your program,
Mm-hmm.
and going and tell them across so what I say.
Mm-hmm.
But you have a good job. But I ain't called for that. I just put throw that in there.
You're too kind.
Dominic,
Uh-huh.
the CEO who resigned from NP,
Oh, good.
that's the gentleman Dr. Rowley told all you. He's a UNC, you know, but he know the job. Dominic, he's a UNC, you know, but he know the job. Come like gypsy. The enemy of my enemy is my friend. I keep asking the question from 2010 to 2015. How much people from the PNN, the UNC took a big position in their government? Dominic, I will leave it there.
Leave it there. And all I will say to you is, nobody with integrity wants to associate with the UNC. All right? Do with that as you will. They could be offering what? You're not going to use me to sanitize your crookery and thievery. Jenny.
Hi, good afternoon, Dominic.
Hi.
Good afternoon to all those who love to and tune into facts for stubborn things. Dominic, it is unfortunate that our society now seems to have a lot of people who they only on self. Individualism has kind of crept into things that people are supposed to be patriotic about, or in terms of a level of empathy or not being so selfish is not about just self, but the bigger picture and just what you could get and what you could earn and what advantage you could get. And if you can't, then you're kicking down the whole bucket train out everything, milk, baby, water, everything, because you can't get what you want.
Mm-hmm.
And we have to be careful that we guard ourselves against that. There's nothing wrong with ambition. Ambition is good because it gives you motivation. However, your ambition must be matched with ability and experience. And this is a general conversation I'm having. And if it falls in somebody's garden, I can't be helped for that. I'm having an honest, general conversation here. We have to know our limitations. And sometimes there are people, like for instance, in a team, there are some in a team who is only negativity they bring. You'll be surprised that a team need that, sometimes, because those are the people who will keep you on your toes. Because, anytime you come to them, nothing good going on here. So, you're always making sure you do things a particular way. There are those who may just lay the table, have the place prepared for the meeting. That is their role. It's not that it's less important, But when they finish decorate that place and get it, hey, you can't even do that. It has someone prepare the food. It has someone could speak to the media. It has some can't speak to the media. It has some could write the speech. Some can't speak the speech. The point of making it a team have different players and everybody have a role. And anytime you want to step out of your role because of selfishness or individualism, and not about rising to the next level because you have the ability to move from here to there, it will create problems. Because if you don't get what you want, what will you do? Will you start a battle, the same thing that you were trying to get? Would you try to pull along the whole team? Or would you be a team player and say, okay, next time? So those are things that kind of concerns me. There's an assignment come 2025, a serious assignment. And the People's National Movement can't play. They can't stick. Everybody has to be on board, suck it up, strap up your boots, tuck in the belly and understand that if we do not come together and vote resoundingly for the People's National Movement to be in office in 2025, where all the work laid down, not only by Dr. Rowley or Minister Stuart Long, but all the other ministries, the Work in Foster Commerce Ministry, Ministry of Youth Development, National Services, all that may come to an end if we allow another party to get involved. The work done by Dr. Naim Gaspi, that could come to an end if you allow UNC to come in office again. All the work being done in agriculture, the work being done under Ministry of Transportation, and all the other ministries. Is it worth it? Is it worth it? I'm asking and appealing now. This is where I'm not general again, I'm being specific. Is it worth it for the kind of maneuverings we're seeing happening now? So I'll leave it there at that. Anna Roberts is just a disrespect. Just watching him is just a disrespect. Just hearing him speak alone is a disrespect to have to listen to a man of that caliber who has nothing in him. He has nothing, he's empty. And based on what we've seen, I will say in my opinion, he's an alcoholic. And this continuous talk about small thing, I think, in my opinion, is what woman does tell him about himself. So he needs to project that onto somebody else. Because as far as we're hearing, I don't know how true, like he can't keep a woman. And it is alleged, if he have one, it's abuse. So he's a man in a place where anybody successful, a successful man, will have he in problems. And the woman and them who he will want to come and drumbeat is strong woman. That's why he could only support Kamala Persad because she's weak as a woman. She's weak because she has certain things holding her back. They say substance abuse, I don't know. But we see certain things, we hear certain things, and we come to the logical conclusion that she's an alcoholic. So apparently, like weak people, weak emotionally, weak mentally, those are the persons he will support. But a strong woman, Dr. Naim Gaspi, Minister Robinson, Camille Regis, and all the other women you have in the People's National Movement, and may have some, but the only one I really seem to be honest is Anita Hayes. They will have problems for them. So I'm saying again, we need to understand the people that we have in our society who are trying to get into office and know what we have to lose if we allow them to get back into office. We are on a clear path, and ask yourself why they're fighting so hard to bring out all these negative things about Trinidad and Tobago. I just hear OWTU talking about that Forex and talking about the closed down at Patriotism. I don't know if they don't do research as a next thing. The unions have become stuck in this era where it is only about we quarrel and get on and fast and march. That's all. But I'm happy to hear this new union leader, Comrade Christopher Skeet from NUJFW speaking a next language. But you will tell me OWT will set up a table and the conversation because of the closure of Patriotism, why we have the Forex problem, when there's so much research out there, why people more learn than them, that is not indicating it's because of that, but because they want to hold on to people's emotions with lies, propaganda, misinformation, disinformation as a way to get into office. And that should tell you why they should never be allowed to get into office, because they do not have the interests of this country at heart. And we have to be patriotic. We have to struggle through. We have to do what we need to do in an honest and legal way to make sure that the UNC and people like Anna Roberts and people who support Anna Roberts and Kamala Persad never get a chance again in this country, because it will be doom and gloom for children, whether Indian children, Chinese, African, Syrian, whoever. All our children and the grandchildren to come. And what do we want to leave as a legacy? We want to leave where our great-grandchildren say it's because of we mother and the great-great-grandmother why we in this, because of the great-great-grandfather why we in this. I reject that, Dominic. Dominic, you have a blessed week ahead, and everybody locked on, have a blessed one.
Thank you, Jen. Seven 7701763. see here. It's amazing, eh? Well, I take it as a compliment when I see persons who support the other side in the chat telling me to stop singing for my supper. You know what that says to me? It says I'm doing a good job. It says that you all can't come and challenge anything that I say with fact. So you realize that because I'm making solid points, supported by, and I don't just come here and mouth off, I read articles and I quote my sources. So if you do like what I say, I tell you where I get it so you could go and look for it for yourself and read it for yourself. Right? So because they cannot come and challenge what I say, they come to tell me that I'm singing for my supper. Really? Singing for my supper. Okay. All right. If that's what you all think, you're entitled to your opinions. Yes. Let me get this here. 613, call me back. Mr. Chance.
How are you doing, sir?
I am good.
Well, as usual, I always make sure that whenever I'm available to listen carefully to your contribution, which is always instructive and worthwhile. I want to touch on a couple of things that you mentioned. Well said, Jenny. Very well said. And from my perspective, there are lots of people who try to say oomph, oomph before they could say wee, wee. There are lots of people who are allowing ambition to overwhelm their own capacity. It's all right to have ambition, but you must not allow it to overwhelm your capacity and your own ability. That's to grow. You can't say oomph, oomph before you could say wee, wee. You can't mash up the coke just so. And you take your time. And as Jenny said, I grew up in a time, I in town a long time, Dominic. I long time, I don't know if you know that. There was a member of parliament in Arima called Felix Bellamy, you know that?
Yes.
You were born. I think you were around at that time. Well, that was dear to me. You know, a member of parliament, I'm a godfather. So I in the PNM nest for a long time, And one of the things I know that my godfather always tell me, the PNM doesn't wash the dirty laundry in public. Always. Growing up, I know that. That is not the PNM way. So I'll leave it there. And I hope that as Stanford and Ms. Marlene Gordon said on The Guardian, we're going to fix that. You have to fix that. You cannot allow people just like that to come and mash up the Cuban. No. 60-something years. 68, I think it is, Dominic. 56 and yeah?
Yeah, 68. 68 years.
One name through that period, PNM. And as Jenny and I have said before, the other side have had 7 reincarnations. PDP, DLP, WFP, Focus on Farmers Party, ULF, Club 88, UNC. See, all of that changes, but it's one party, but they change all the time. There's no stability. And what we are asking for is the PNM to return to its principle of stability. So I'm going to leave that there. Thank you, Jenny. Now, with the senior citizen grant you spoke about, yes, I want to support that because I have been dealing with the senior citizen grant. I volunteer to deal with senior citizens. So I know that under the UNC, the ceiling was 4,500, as you quite rightly said. But if you get in NIS, you get 3,000. And the senior citizens grant is 1,500. I know for sure because my sister is a beneficiary of that and she received that. And under the PNM, the ceiling changed to 5,500. So all of those who people are getting, they get $1,000 in addition. 1,000. I have to emphasize that to my sister. You're getting $1,000. No, it's true. People, we don't recognize that. And then let us go to the disability. Under the UNC, we had one category of disability, and by the way, people, I'm talking because I'm involved in that and I know about it. Right? I have experience working with it. And the disability under the UNC, although they have a set of money, the biggest revenue ever, any 5-year period of any government, but their categorization of the disability was one category, adults. And they gave the adults $1,800. Well, in comes the PNM. The PNM recognized that you have to have another category called minors. So adults was 18 years and over. So the PNM introduced a new category. So persons who have children with cerebral palsy at 11 and 12 years, they can benefit. and they now getting 1,500. And the PNM increased the disability grant from 1,800 to 2,000. Okay? And we don't have as much money, hard cash like they had. You understand? And let me come finally to all the public assistance and the other grants. All of them will increase during the PNM time. And you made a mention of the bus pass. Well, it was nice for me to listen to the Public Accounts Committee. That is still there. That was something originated since Dr. Williamsville, bus pass for senior citizens, Yeah, I know about it. And in 2023, this government, contributed $72 million, for bus pass for senior citizens, So we all senior citizens getting a lot of opportunities, a significant amount. So I just thought I will touch on that. Let me come quickly on to the gas fields you spoke about. Originally, there was this statement when we're not talking about, as you asked the question, what has the UNC done to contribute to the Treasury? So if you have a long-term benefit, and you're quite right, zero, zilch, nothing. So let's touch on that. Now let's say that we know that all things being equal and the ducks line up in a row, that from 2027, we're supposed to get first gas from Manatee, which has 2.7 trillion cubic feet of gas, and first gas from Dragon, which has 4.2 trillion. But as you quite rightly said, there's a statement made recently, and I spoke about it on your program sometime before. We have some gas fields, what they call shallow gas fields that have been explored by BPTT and EOT and all of them. And you know something? You mentioned them, the Mento and the SIP. Let me tell you what the Mento and the SIP is. Here, this is the release coming from BPT. The Mento and the SIP will be producing their first gas by February 2025. You hear me, people? The Mento and the SIP, first gas, and the Minister of Finance said it in the budget debate. But you see, you all are calling too much. They do too long. You got time on listen. If you go back and listen to what they call budget bites, you'll hear him say that. He speaks about the Mento and the SIP gas field, and he speaks about the fact that they will bring first gas in February 2025. That will add to 250 to 300 million cubic feet of gas per day. And the Mento and the SIP has a capacity of 1 trillion cubic feet of gas. So before 2027, we start only rolling into the Treasury. Can the UNC talk about that? And if you want to see that started under the UNC, no. That exploration with the Mento and the SIP started in 2022. And notice it's taken 3 years to come to finalization. The same thing, 2024 to 2027, a 3-year gestation period to get first gas. So that was under the PNM, the exploration and so on, the SIP and Mento, under the PNM. From 2022, now we're getting first gas by 2025. So we need to look at that. And that is why, as Jenny always said, just to pay attention to your business. Because a lot of things, all the bacchanal and the front page and the media have us all wrapped up with that. But inside of all of that, good things are happening for the government. Good things are happening because when those things happen, we are ensured that we have money to pay our bills. And I always say this, and I will keep repeating it. Whenever a country does not have money to pay its bills, there's a door it has to knock on. That door is this IMF, when you cannot pay your bills. And that is why this government is always seeking the opportunity to get revenue to pay its bills. That is why the government went into the Revenue Authority. Because according to the research done by Professor Theodore, we are losing between $5 and $10 billion. So if we get more money like that, we will have to pay our bills. That's why the government went into property tax. That would give us some $300 million a year. And you know why, people? Well, we have to pay a bill of $1.9 billion every month to the public sector workers. $1.9 billion every month, $22 billion a year, somewhere there. All the old age pension and the disability and the public assistance we are giving, it is costing us $450 million a month, $5.5 billion a year. Where that money is coming from? That is why the government has to take on this very aggressive approach to find money, because we don't print money here. And that is why the SIP and the Mento and the Dragon Gas and the Manatee are all important to us. And that is why the Revenue Authority is important to us. Because these things bring money to the country for us to run our country and our business. I think we have to continue, and I want to thank Dominic for always focusing on that side. Because if we cannot pay our bills, there is this knock. And the man says, hello, who is that? We say, well, my name is Dr. Rowley. He said, what can I do for you, Dr. Rowley? So, well, I can't pay my bills. He said, come on, have a seat. Yeah, the same problem Barbados and Jamaica had, you know, and we sorted them out, okay? Yeah, but they have to sell on 3,000 public servants. And they have to give up all the subsidies. And there are things they cannot do without talking to me. Because I am in charge. I am the IMF, sir. Have a seat, Dr. Rowley. Do you have any questions, sir? How many people you have working in the public sector, sir? You say, well, I have about how much? You say, well, you have to sell on 10,000 of them, sir. What about all those subsidies you're giving there? Now, if you want to get my money to run your country, you have to stick out all those subsidies. I see you're giving a lot of money to the old age pension and all that. You have to cut that by half. Those are the consequences you have to face. If you play fast and loose with yourself and change gear and change tide and place the uncivilized national crooks to protect the treasury of Trinidad and Tobago. Thank you for the time, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. As always, on the button. What is going on with this number here? (613). I don't know what's going on this morning. Call me back. Whenever I try to answer your call, it keeps cutting off. Let's try this again. Hello. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, my darling. How are you?
I am good.
I won't keep you long. When you talk the nation, you talk yourself. Your feet are the only thing on the ground. You talk the nation in your home. The atmosphere will pick up and store and exhale what you are saying about your nation. What does UNC want to rule? Civic-minded people will always see what is best in this land. They want the best, they hope the best, they pray for the best. Yeah, Mr. Perfect, eh? But the civic-minded, patriotic statesmen of this nation. Right? If they fight cleanly. There's no bacchanal, mayhem, and manslaughter. The enemies, they're not perfect because they're people. But you know what? PM Rowley is like a teacher in a classroom. You know which child needs a hand push, who wants a tap, and who wants love. He has a bird-eye view sense of looking at who needs party and who is still what role. UNC is a cult dictator. UNC is Jim Jones of Trinidad and Tobago. And if he is so bad, pack your plastic and please go. We are a blessed nation. Our healthcare is top the line. My friend lives in Indonesia, okay? Chastney, stop the Polish pension. Chastney raised the age of retirement in St. Lucia. People, get your facts together. Chastney to the public hospitals and made it private for cosmetic surgery. What he didn't drop in Polish pension, he altogether took it away. How blessed are we that we don't see how much you have. Look at Spain, Valencia, Spain, the floods, the damage, the loss of lives. Look at Haiti, the Guyana roads. My friend have one in Guyana, one Liberia, one Liberia and 2 clubs in Guyana. And they have oil. Why they hate from the other side? That comes from insecurity. If you know your worth, you'll be so dotish. And then if I go, God bless you. God bless my land. God keep us safe from the enemies and source of Jesus. And God, I bless them in government from captain to cook. So wash the cleaner, just need a man of God alive.
Thank you. They're just coming out these days, boy. Seems there's a new one called Mark. I wonder if this is just some of these guys who just changing their name. So Mark come back with this nonsense about where the 2.6 billion unaccounted for. Mark, we dealt with that several times on this. You must be new to this podcast, right? If you go to the central bank's progress report for the last quarter, I think it's page 15 or 14 or something, so you will see where they speak about, Mark, the electronic check cashing system that was introduced in the first quarter of last year. They speak about the teething problems that were experienced, Mark, which resulted in the $2.6 billion double entry. The 2.6 billion, which was supposed to represent, Mark, it was supposed to represent, well, 2.6 billion for VAT refunds, Mark, and there was a double posting, right? Which resulted in an understatement of the government revenue. So there's no money unaccounted for. Because if you were listening to your beloved, your dear Auditor General, she was telling the government, contrary to what you all are saying, you did not earn 64 billion. So Mr. Imbert was saying, yes, we earned $64 billion in revenue. And she's saying, no, you only earn 61. The next, that 2.6 billion plus the 700 and something was a figment of your imagination. You make it up to cook the books. Basically, that is what was being implied. That's what Munilal and they said. So they are saying the 2.6 billion never existed. So how can you be coming here to talk about 2.6 billion that is unaccounted for when those are, well, what was implied based on the original utterances of the Auditor General's department is that the money never existed. So go to the central bank's progress report and read it. It is there. The matter was thoroughly audited the second time over a 4-month period by the auditors from the Auditor General's office, the most senior of auditors. And on the exit interview in July this year, the auditor said they were satisfied with what they found. They saw all the documentation that they needed to see, whatever with the vouchers and whatnot, speaking to that 2.6 billion, and they were satisfied. They have no issues with it. It's their boss, the Auditor General, who insists she wants to go down to the central bank to see for herself. Like doubting Thomas, she wants to see the wounds and put her fingers in it before she believes. So she wants to go down to central bank, so it no longer has anything to do with the Ministry of Finance. No. She's saying she wants to go to the central bank and she wants to see the process. Walk me through this electronic cash check cashing system and let me understand how it works and all of that. Because she wants to continue to drag out this thing longer than is necessary. When her senior auditors have said, we are satisfied with the documentation provided us by the Ministry of Finance, we understand what went on, okay, and we are satisfied. But you see, when you cause things to be put into the public domain and you know that the Foley Dunce and the Waterfront ilk have embraced this thing and keep running with this lie, this bit of misinformation and propaganda, when the facts come out and the truth come out, you all have become so wedded to that issue that you refuse to accept the facts. Hopefully, whenever that is, she finds the time to go down to the central bank and hopefully she'll go for herself so she could see for herself. But even then, she's not going to, I highly doubt she's going to come back and say anything on the matter, right? Because she understands there's a group of you all out there who have made her this martyr, who have made her this superhero, and she's standing up for the rights of the citizens, and she's standing up for good governance, and she's standing up for transparency. And what it turned out to be? A crock of BS. BS. and that all the protestations that she made would come to naught. And it's difficult for her to do that because then she would disappoint the likes of you and Leo and the rest of you all who are on folly and foolishness. Brian, greetings.
Dear listeners and callers, you see, Dominic, they will always regurgitate the same old stories because there's nothing new for them to talk about as far as things against the People's National Movement is concerned. There's nothing new. There's no bacchanal for them to talk about. You understand? Nobody gets hold, but police are looking for no PNM government minister. Police are looking for nobody who thieves money under this present administration. There's no appointee or no board that have issues to deal with under this administration. There's nobody with false papers heading boards under this administration. You understand? So therefore, they have to regurgitate things that they don't even know anything about. Because I'm certainly person who just put that on your page there. He don't even understand where that money come from, or how it's missing, or why it was missing. He doesn't even know. He doesn't understand. But he will regurgitate a headline for you. So that is all they can do. You understand? When they came out of office and they were voted out of office, they didn't even complete the highway to Point 14. And when you drove down the piece that they had done, it didn't even look like a highway. It looked like a little back road. Because they didn't understand exactly what they were doing and what to do about that. They didn't understand what a highway should look like. But $7 billion gone. When you're talking about that, and the giveaway to OAS, a bankrupt industry, a bankrupt company that they knew was bankrupt. And Rhoda Munila said, I know big thing. Let it continue. But they give away the $961 million for them to go with in bonds. I tried to fight to get back. They ain't talking about these things. We had to finish the highway to Point 14 so that brand new hospital that was built by the PNM, that people could go and say, hey, look at this. Because when I saw it, it's a huge, huge building. You understand? That people in Point 14 and La Brea and these environs could easily go to a proper hospital compared to what was there before. More or less for the strength of people and the environs. And it was like a little shed, like air conditioned, yes. Good people working in it. But I have been there before. You understand? But at the end of the day, what this government did for the people of South, what did Kamala Prasad Processor do while she was there for 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days? Could anybody say? What was built in South Trinidad where the majority of her government people were from? What did they build? What did they do? That is why she called San Fernando a borough. Because she wasn't interested in San Fernando because San Fernando had no treasury. Treasury was in town. You understand? That is why she didn't care about the people of San Fernando because nothing was done when they were there for the people of San Fernando. As a matter of fact, nothing was done for the country. But moreover, for the people of South, where you're born and grow, where the majority of them were from, who are from, nothing was done under them. Absolutely nothing for the people of San Fernando. Now that this government is in office, we have renewed and revitalized these are beautiful Skinner parkings. And they're not finished with Skinner Park yet, you know, Dominic. They're going to Skinner Park at a netball court and a lawn tennis court. Brand new. Still. Because there's room for it. You understand? So they're not finished yet. Even the waterfront, that is in progress. So things are happening in South under this regime. But when She was there. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing. Except tiffin. See how much money they get out of the treasury and who they could fix. And I wanted to ask you a question, Dominic. That $173 odd million that she had as Prime Minister, that was budgeted for her in those 5 years, 3 months, and 14 days. Did it include these $15 million that she used to go to India? But that was an aside. Huh? I wonder. Is it travel but she carried her son to watch the World Cup in finals in Brazil? I wonder if that was also money that was incorporated in the $173 million, or there's another set of money. I wonder. Only if we pay for that too. Huh? And what we need to know from them. Because this did nothing for us. And it is good to know that the people of La Brea at last getting some measure of activity. No thanks to Roger. Only concern, I guess, is to make sure that he aligns himself with the UNC for whatever reason, whatever he has been promised. Understand? But thank God for the people of La Brea who have steadfastly voted for the PNM. Never wavered. Thank God at last they're getting some measure of activity in that constituency. And that is good for the people down there on that side. You understand? I know with the highway being finished, I believe the minister was going to do the crossover into La Brea, the flyover, some measure of road works to shorten the connective road to the highway into La Brea. So that's another piece of work I believe he has to do. But at least the highway is finished. And now in 20 minutes, people have Point Fortin and get to San Fernando and further up the highway. And they don't have to go through that long drawn-out drive through La Brea and Rosilac and all those other areas. They don't talk about these things, so we have to talk about it. You understand? And Mr. Charles alluded to the oil activity that's going to come on stream. He forgot to mention Touchstone, who's doing a lot of onshore drilling. They're drilling a further additional 2 wells that are going to bear fruit in 2025, 2026. Right? So gas is going to come, but the major gas is going to obviously come from the Coquina, Manikin, and the Dragon, and the Manatee, and so on. And I'm almost certain that there are some talks going on with respect to Lauren. I'm almost certain.
Yes, Minister Young did say that.
Right. Because it'll be easier to access Lauren once Manatee gets going to access Lauren, because it's right there.
Yes.
You understand? But I'm going to give you a little secret, Something happening in Point of View. That's what I'm going to tell you for now. A lot of things happening in Point of View right now. More activity than normal. That's all I want to say for now. There's more activity. And I met one person and they even confirmed there's activity in Point of View. I don't know who gets it. I don't know if it's been sold. I don't know. But I'm telling you, from what I see and what I've heard, there's a lot of activity in Point of View. And I'm happy about that. You know why, Dominic? I want this arrangement or agreement or whatever it may be to be completed before the next election.
Yes.
I want it to be done away with. And I want it to be airtight. Whatever agreement is reached. So that anybody coming after, if anybody should come after outside of this government, nothing to be done about it. The same way UNC did a deal for the Desal plant for 24 years that up to now this government cannot get around. Because it's so airtight that this family will be getting $14 billion of our money in TT dollars, but $7 million a month. Now, what do the way the US going? $7 million every single month. We have to pay $84 million a year as we have to pay for that Desal plant in Point Lisa. $84 Understand? So when I'm talking about if they have money and people see in trouble to get, which people see in trouble to get money? Which people, if you have a credit card, you don't have a problem.
Exactly.
You have a credit card, and you don't have a problem, but they don't want a credit card. Understand? I wonder why. Because I don't feel only you have a bank account in America, you know, Dominic?
I know.
I don't feel so. Understand? And you might be on the smaller scale.
Correct.
But they have others, Dominic. Yes, but we'll find out one of these days, you know, somebody will talk. Maybe you get to know next year, you never know. This is what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. But there's activity all around. People don't want to admit it, but there's a lot of activity. And when you go to the groceries these days, you want to know what is really going on. You want to know what is really going on. Normally, we'll have ham every year, but now all of a sudden, if you see ham in October, people buying, people purchasing groceries. Thursday night. Was Thursday night? It was, yeah, Thursday night. No, not Thursday night, sorry. Wednesday night, because Thursday was the Diwali holiday. JT and Marabella ran with people. Ran with people. Say, wow, we're not here, boy. Christmas. So nobody has no money. And people suffering and they're hungry. But they're talking about Fali who fly again. Because somebody could, because the minister of tourism couldn't make it. Secretary of Tourism couldn't make it. But you have a next group and going to somewhere in Australia. So them flying as normal. No activity in Tobago, but he flying as normal. No, but they talk, UNCA talking about that. The ball-headed Scrooge and talking about that. Talking about working on in Tobago. Huh? Every Monday morning, Fali out of the country say he's going to do things for Tobago with no reports whatsoever. Huh? No, he ain't talking about that thing. The Pastor Bain, since he get voted. Huh? What a word. What fella? Sorry for him. But that's what's going on. They don't talk about what's going on in Tobago. They're talking, they're saying thank you to Trinidad for all the people who went across there for the carnival. They're talking about that, but they're complaining about Cal again. And Cal put on extra flights. Seabridge put on extra sailings. They moved 4,000 people, 22 plus thousand people in 4 days. They're talking about these things. That's what you can do. They have nothing else to say, so what are they going to talk about? So they will talk about things that have already gone before and have already been dealt with. And we just have to continue understanding what the assignment is. And I think people understand, regardless of what they say, because more going to come. Apparently they're finished now with that you don't have to pay taxes on your inheritance. No inheritance tax again, that's done. So they will come with something else next year perhaps. But you don't have to worry. You have an assignment, people must understand the assignment. One thing to do is vote. Have a good day, Dominic.
Thank you, sir. Well said. We look forward to that activity in Point-A-Pay. Jenny.
Dominic, just somebody on the live who named Mark or something, and probably other people may have missed it. The case that we're sizzling the contractor over Junior Sammy would have won and gotten money from. That has nothing to do with the case where Muniral by the 6th of September and all the contractors when I had to put in the defense. Mark, understand it's two different things. The money that Junior Sammy gets is money for the work that they do. The Privy Council say pay them for the work they do. And that money was there to pay them as the MBD was querying it because they didn't finish all the work. So whoever work that finished, they get the money for that. But the cartel-like behavior in contract and bidding and rebidding, that's still going on by the 6th of November. Rural Munral and the contractors have to give in the defense, and if they don't give in the defense, EMBD could close off the case, and EMBD could win the case for that. And they have to give it in, and that will go before Frank Superstar. So the money that to pay, if the work can get the money, get it, but that has to do with the next part of the case, and all it doesn't read, all it don't understand nothing. It's the same way this government has to pay millions. Yes, they were prepared to pay me because they weren't prepared to have him in the central bank no more because he was incompetent. He was not the most senior person, and he was the most rich central bank government we had. So they very well know when they break his contract, they have to pay him that contract also. The country we were willing to let him take his money and ride out. Rather than have him there, a man who sit down there and knowing that our country was in 2015, and he saying nothing and just come out after and just say that, and then make a big grin talking about you really have money for 3 days, but they had a right to pay you for a long time, but all them wrong. So, thanks.
Thank you, Jen. 2 o'clock. I want to over my time in there. Eric, call me. I'll give you 5 minutes. Don't stick. Oh, Lord. I don't have enough time to go through when I read some. And why is it all I always like to attack Jenny? When I read it, is everybody on this chat who's pro-UNC always cussing out Jenny and telling Jenny some of the most derogatory things? Why? Come now, man. I find nobody don't come and y'all don't profane nothing here to challenge what it is I say. Nothing. Are you talking about singing for supper and singing for supper? Who's singing? All you have anybody to sing for the UNC supper for all you? All the propaganda that you all putting out, it is being debunked here. Right? But all you sharing it with gay abandon, no. Sharing it. But let it reach here and it will be dealt with. Come now, man. Do better than that. Do better than that. All you're not serious. When the words of Patrick Manning, they are just not ready, my dear friends. Lack the political skill, lack the political training, lack the political experience, lack the political acumen, and would be a disaster if they were to come into office in 2025. I'm going to take Eric here. Last call for the day. Eric, you're late.
Afternoon, sir. After the callers listers of another segment, facts are stubborn things. No, Dominic, you will expect that, you know. You remember, this platform attracts people who want to get a political education. So they will gravitate to the live here because you know the UNC lives and pages not saying nothing. So they come here to get an education, and maybe when they get education, they probably go and sell it or sell it or teach their other supporters on the other side with the knowledge that they would have gotten here. So that is why every Sunday, Tuesday and Thursday, and every Monday, Wednesday and Friday, they will fly onto your live, and on Jenny live, and on Juliet live, and all the people who coming out to speak the truth, they will, because they want to get an education. Because the UNC do not give them. Remember, UNC would have given themselves silk and false papers, so they want to come and get the education the correct way. But you see, they're not doing the research before they come and give out the side of the story. But anyway, that's it and done. Now, it has so much going on in this country right now, right? And right now, the UNC PR is falling through the cracks right now as we speak, right? It has nobody in the UNC right now that is going to come out and with a level of dotishness and foolishness. Since that logo they get last week, Thursday for the Diwali celebration day, right now is heat in the UNC camp, so they know how to turn, how to twist, how to run. Right? But with that being said and done, and as Jenny said, the assignment is to vote the People's National Movement. Dominic, you would have read an article in America that would have shown a video of allegedly about 2 or 3 ballot boxes being set afire in 2 states in America.
I didn't show it, but I saw it.
Yes. So, you know, I am just putting the People's National Movement hierarchy and the heads. Be observant, because you know these UNC trolls, supporters, activists, and all of them coming out with every nasty and dirty behavior come next year. So it won't surprise me just what happened in America, because you know right now as we speak in America, Kamala Harris is leading in certain states, and Donald Trump, Republican Party, is going to cause problems in these states. They're going to cause a lot of problems. And just what Donald Trump is doing in America, the UNC is going to copycat everything that Donald Trump do down here. So I am just putting it on notice to the People's National Movement and all the supporters of the PNM and the hierarchy. Be observant, be vigilant. Because you remember, Dominic, that they wanted observers.
Mm-hmm.
Them wanted the UNC want the observers, eh? We know why. We know why all about the observer, because all they don't trust all your own self. Right? Because when in 2010, 2015, all they were observers then, when Kamala, the so-called old bat, would have won election in 2010, all they were observers then. But when she lose in 2015, coming forward, all the observers, Biden's putting on notice that this election coming up here is going to be the mother of all elections from 1956 coming straight down to 2024. This election here, this is a turning point in Trinidad and Tobago history and going into the future, because 2025, 2030, it will be a very important 5-year stance in this country relative to the advancement, the productivity, and all sorts of initiatives that will enhance the development of this country. And the UNC is causing stumbling blocks, or should I say they are giving misinformation or disinformation to their supporters to be leveled through the media and other channels to destabilize the country, because them don't have TNT at heart. They're just like the TPP, the toilet paper party. All of it is the same damn thing. You understand? Fale, you have 1 year again. Right? You have 1 year and 2 months to call the election in Tobago. Right? But before I go, let me just read a quick thing here. Right? A kleptocratic government is characterized by systematic corruption and exploitation of public resources by political leaders, that is the UNC, and officials for personal gain. Here are the core characteristics: misuse of public funds, lack of transparency, cronyism, nepotism, weak institutions, suppression of dissidents, concentration of wealth and power, manipulation of the election, poor public services. And a kleptocracy leader prioritizes personal engagement over public welfare leaders to widespread poverty, inequality, and inefficiency in government. This form of governance often triggers social unrest and economic instability as public trust erodes. And that is what the UNC PP would have done in 2010 to 2015. And they want to come back in 2025 with that same rhetoric they would have given in that period. And I am telling people today again, I'm repeating, you see, 2025, stay focused. Make sure and divulge the information to your friends, family, colleagues, your acquaintances. this is going to be a very crucial election. You see right now, all the Ramdas in report what is going on in the UNC party right now, that the UNC B team is looking to overthrow the supplier but and she all-star team. She gonna report that because they don't mind PNM business. Yeah, it's like still a PNM business. Right? People, the assignment is on 2025. Let us go out, take your tanty, your nanny, your bougie, your auntie, your grandmother, your grandfather who in the wheelchair who can travel, take them and carry them to the poll and make sure that we get at least 26 to 27 seats. So the PNM government could pass legislation and everything for the people of this Trinidad. Not about African people, it's about Trinidad and Tobago. And with that being said, and on the night of the election, we're going to converge from the east, from the west, from the north, from the south, from central, from Tobago, and we will converge onto the new refurbished Bali House, and we will all join in one accord, and we will say, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, great is the PNM, and we shall have and will prevail. Dominic, good program, listening.
Thank you, sir. Right. Last call, and then I go on. Hello, good afternoon. Hello. 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 Going on here, boy. 633.
Hey, good afternoon, sir.
Yes, sir. Greetings.
Okay, I know Eric was supposed to be the last caller, but I just want to follow up from when you said I was taking a call.
Yes.
And thanks for the fact that stubborn thing.
Mm-hmm.
So, to concretize it for people and people's minds.
Mm-hmm.
A friend of mine said something was very interesting. So it was I believe, a poster. I don't know if you would have gotten it or if the PNM people would have gotten it.
Mm.
It was a poster for the first election that the PNM contested in 1956.
Mm.
The election was held on the 24th of September 1956. And this is from the PNM's election manifesto. I'll read for our fellow citizens. Voters of Trinidad and Tobago, you have had 10 years of corruption, 6 years of corruption, misgovernment, maladministration, extravagance, ignorance, inefficiency, individualism, party acrobatic. We have offered you instead political education, nationhood, morality, and public affairs. PNM is the only party in Trinidad and Tobago which is national in scope, democratic in structure and practice, disciplined in method, dedicated to the promotion of the national welfare, based on a clear cut program, proud to admit the intelligence and capacity in the science of government. Vote PNM. On Emancipation Day, September 24th, 1956. I dare say, sir, can you say in the past 68 years, has the PNM deviated from those values I just read?
Nope.
And can any party in opposition to the PLM say that they have had a legacy of a length of being true to such principles? So I just want to leave that there for those of us who might receive it in the next few days. So keep reminding yourself that the foundational principles PNM have not wavered from Dr. Eric Williams' vision in 1956 to Christopher Rowley's vision for today and presumably for next year, 2025. Great is the, and it must and shall prevail. Thank you, Dominicans. Have a good afternoon to everybody.
Thank you, sir. Can't think of a better way to close off the program, right? The PNM is a stable party, a consistent party. Yes, and save and except for the last couple of weeks where yes, we see in some deviation from the policy that we do not air dirty linen in public, right? More or less, we stick to the assignment. Okay, so as Jenny would have started off by telling us, nothing wrong with ambition. Ambition is good, but it's party before, in that case, the party and the government before self. All right, I mean, the persons who have told me, hey, throw your hat in the ring thing, whatever it is, but I look at the landscape and I have had to temper that ambition. So based on the bigger picture, I'm not going to contribute to infighting and the like. So so I take the advice, and if the opportunity presents itself, no problem. But, but you got to do what you got to do. To each his own. So enough said on that point. As I said on Tuesday morning, God's willing, folks, we will continue the discussion. Tuesday, of course, being D-Day for the United States of America, election day. So we'll see how that turns out, because the outcome, of course, has repercussions or implications for the rest of the world. It's not just the United States of America, right? So bear in mind, we might say, well, yeah, that's not under it, there's America election. No, who sits in the White House for the next 4 years has an impact on us and the rest of the world. Whether or not the United States is going to pull out of NATO, whether or not we're going to see further proliferation of what's happening in the Middle East with respect to Israel and Gaza, and Israel and Hezbollah, and Israel and Iran, and whoever else. Whether or not we're going to see a situation with tariffs in the United States, which could see the cost of living skyrocket because of irresponsible economic policies. Politicians say strange things when they looking to get into office without forethought. Yeah, and of course, we need our dragon gas, and we need to have somebody in the White House who's a little more accommodating when it comes to Venezuela, right? We don't know what's happening in Venezuela. I haven't really been hearing anything because since July was their election, and I think the swearing in also inauguration supposed to take place in January, similar to the US. So they've not been, so we've not. Yeah, so we need a certain outcome for our energy sector. Let me tell you, there are people right here in Trinidad who hoping that it goes a certain way so that the dragon gas can be scuttled and other gas deals. Never mind, these things are going to help us financially, help the Forex situation, help the country's economic circumstance. They would rather see all of that fall by the wayside just because they figure that it is going to help their cause, to help them to get back into office. And then when you get back into office, how are you generating income? When you're planning to cut taxes because you're saying these things because it's convenient. How are you going to fix that? Folks, we'll chat on Tuesday. Fortunately, I can't take any more calls because I've already gone over my time and I have some stuff to do. Right? So enjoy the rest of your Sunday, the rest of your weekend. Whatever you do in moderation. And God's willing, we will chat again Tuesday morning, 6:30. Thank you so much, Donna. Francia, Panchu, Pearl Dowlath, Donna Seeley, Margaret James, Margaret Matheson, Steve John, Desho Bain, Selena Kwashi, Helen Ross, PF Cutters, Bless One, all of you guys. And even to the haters who come on to the the platform to spread their propaganda. Well, bring all your propaganda here, and we will deal with it once and for all. Not going to make a difference for you, because you're still going to go and push it anyway. All right? So Tuesday, folks, God's willing.